Hello, everyone, and welcome to Millennial Rewind, where we take a not-so-sentimental look at the movies and TV shows that were around when millennials were growing up. I'm your host, Nick, coming to you from the bee's knees of the West Coast, Los Angeles, California. And joining me here in the City of Angels is my co-host, Jules. Jules, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm coming up with all kinds of uses for blood. There's blood bank donations, medical research, and crime lab blood sampling of murder basketball suspects at Malibu Beach, just to name a few.
I feel like this is just an infinite list of Baywatch references. That's what the podcast
That's what we're going to degenerate into, yeah.
It is.
Oh, just give us like 2 minutes into the movie.
That voice joining us from the bloody stump with a hook jammed into it of Southern California, our other co-host, John. John, what's happening?
I'm about to redo my apartment in Pepto-Bismol.
Oh, God. She was right to hate the
Beautiful
color scheme.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
And if you're wondering what that's all about, well, this week we watched the 1992 classic horror film Candyman. And John, if you were to tell someone that you watched Candyman without using the title Candyman, what would you tell them?
The precursor to the Biggie Smalls trick.
It's Baywatch references and South Park references. That is our show.
Pretty much.
And Jules, if the producers had asked you to come up with a different title for this movie, what would it be?
Well, it ended up being a bit long, but I found it necessary. I went with, Are You Afraid of the Well-Lit Ghost Demon Dude on a Bright and Sunny Day?
Yeah, they show the
Just rolls
monster
off the tongue.
early and often, yeah. That would fit on 4 posters if you just got them real close together.
I mean, it was just the lingering thing that came out during this movie is how bright and sunny it is all the time. And for a movie that uses possibly the greatest cliche of the hook-handed murderer ghost, they didn't realize that there is something a little off-putting in horror when you see the monster face to face, well lit, right in front of you, and it's always sunny and bright.
I like they didn't go that way. Just, oh, is it? Isn't it? You're in the dark. Oh, it's spooky. Oh, jump scare. Oh, no, that's the best friend. No, it's just, yes.
There's a reason why certain tropes exist in horror, and the reason is that you can't see the monster and you don't know what's in the dark. And they pretty much hooked every other, pardon the pun, every other trope that the entire series went through, you know, all the jump scares and the full scares.
Yeah, but we're tired of all of those.
Yeah, it subverted expectations. So, had you guys seen this movie before we watched it for this episode?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. You watched it when it came out? You watched it later?
Yeah, well, home video release. Every year, our mom would take a vacation to, I forget, it was some, crafts festival thing, which basically meant Dad got to rent us movies we weren't supposed to watch.
That's good fathering right there.
Oh, yeah, that's how I wound up with seeing the Terminator movies and a couple Child's Plays and stuff like that. So
explains a lot about how you turned out.
See, to me, it was another one of those movie categories. Anything by Clive Barker was just, on the no-no list of movies to watch.
But this is only inspired by a story he wrote.
Yeah, he's tangentially involved. It's not even a direct adaptation.
Kevin Bacon is more closely associated with this movie.
Yeah, this was my first viewing of this movie. I was a real wuss when it came to horror movies growing up. I would watch an episode of Goosebumps, the old kids show, and I would just be crying and not sleep for a week.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I had those books, and when the TV show started, I was like, this is a comedy. I think I was reading Stephen King by the time that show started.
Again, explains a lot about you.
I was in Nick's camp. I was absolutely terrified by the shitty puppets from Goosebumps. It was unbelievable how, I don't know, impressionable or terrified I was by small things. I think I was in a phase where I thought I would just hate all horror as a genre at the time, and I just didn't rediscover it until I was a late teenager or something.
This has to be just one of those things where, now it doesn't matter, but just the very few years that's between us back then made all the fucking
It
difference.
really did.
Yeah, it did for sure. Yeah, I saw The Nightmare Before Christmas and didn't sleep for a month. Legitimately did not sleep for a month after The Nightmare Before. Like Oogie Boogie just traumatized me as a kid. And at some point in high school, I was friends with these guys who were super into horror movies, and I think it was just exposure therapy. They just basically forced me to watch a lot of horror movies, and now I can handle them. I mean, it's not my preferred genre, so I was aware of Candyman. I just had never seen it.
Yeah, I was just a very overly imaginative child. It was actually the two Spielberg movies. It was Jaws and Jurassic Park that just terrified the crap out of me. So I didn't really watch a horror movie again until, like I said, probably early 2000s.
Well,
Yeah.
and as we already know, Predator's hiding in all the trees.
yeah,
He is.
yeah.
It's like when I saw Deep Blue Sea and there were sharks in every single body of water that I happened to walk past.
Exactly. Yeah, that was Jaws for me. Just I couldn't step into a pool for the longest time.
Sweetie, that's a bird fountain.
There could be sharks in there. You don't know.
Tangent, there's a movie called Ghost Shark where that sort of thing is possible. The shark can come out of any body of water, including a mopping bucket.
Wow.
No, that's the thing. All of that
Yeah.
shit seems so ludicrous. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, so we were mentioning Clive
So
Barker.
anyway.
Yeah, talking about everything but the movie. So we were mentioning Clive Barker. He wrote a short story titled something. It wasn't Candyman, but it was the same story, but it was about the English class system. And the director of this movie had read it and just happened to bump into Clive Barker and was like, hey, I really like this. Can I adapt it? And he had an idea to turn it into a commentary on race and class in America. So that's kind of how it came to be.
Apparently making a few missteps about gender along the way.
Yeah. We'll get into it. So, I mean, there's not much. It's a reasonably low budget horror. They shot the exteriors in Chicago, and the rest was done on sound stages in L.A. And it looks like it for sure. Some of the scenes definitely look like they were shot on a soundstage.
And the music is done by someone very special, Philip Glass.
I know, and it sounds like it.
I like the music.
I went back and forth between heavy synthesizer that has not aged well at all and certain atmospheric moments that were done well. But
Yeah, it was definitely a mixed bag.
It's the trying to be epic choral chanting where everyone just says ah. in
la
different
la la la
tones.
la la, yeah.
Pipe organ and sometimes piano. Like, I love it. It doesn't have much in the way of variety, but
And just with rewatching, I am going to have to reveal one of my horrible flaws, and that's going to be that I think part of this movie was ruined by Cards Against Humanity, because my favorite...
No, it is only enhanced.
My favorite card in Cards Against Humanity is bees, question mark.
Bees?
And so whenever bees are on camera, I just have a little chuckle.
And if you ever have the joy of playing Cards Against Humanity with Jules and you have bees in your hand, it will always win.
It will always win, yes.
It will always win. It doesn't matter.
All right. And with bees in mind, we're going to take a short break and we will be back with our breakdown of Candyman.
I'm so glad you came over, Billy.
For sure. Your boyfriend Mike's such a cuckold.
Right?
So, we bang in or what?
Oh, yeah, we're getting to that. But first, you want to go to the bathroom with me?
Not my usual thing, but sure, I'll try anything once. Cool, so should I take my pants off or...
No. You heard of Candyman, right? Come here. You say his name 5 times in the mirror, and he appears and kills you.
Whoa, girl, you seriously made me walk up all those stairs and come with you to the bathroom so we could talk about an urban legend? We could have done that back on the couch.
Oh, let's do it. I'll let you feel me up while we do.
Okay.
Candyman?
Candyman? Candyman? Candyman? Candyman?
Billy.
Oh shit, it's Candyman!
Dude, get the fuck out of here. This chick is crazy.
Seriously, way to look out, dude.
No worries, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. You're kind of a weirdo.
Billy, no, Billy, come back. So, you gonna show me what you can do with that hook?
Okay, seriously, get help. So uncomfortable.
Billy really triggered my erogenous zones.
I'm just gonna go ahead and hook myself to death.
Again.
And we're back. And again, because I always talk about studio logos, this TriStar logo is crazy.
Oh, I have something to say about TriStar.
Okay, glad it's not just me.
Yeah, well, I was born out in California. We mentioned during Top Gun, and while my folks were living out here, TriStar was just starting up. And they were trying to get people to invest in this new movie company. I don't know how much they were asking for a share of the company, but it was seemed as too risky. And so they didn't do anything. And so for over like the next decade, every time that damned horse showed up before a movie, we got to hear about how rich we could have been if only we had invested.
All right, so we're going to start off with Bird Eye View of Traffic. That's right. We're going to watch highways. They hired a helicopter for a bunch of shots, and they were going to get their fucking money's worth.
I
in
ended
this
up
movie.
getting distracted by another production company, which was Propaganda Films. Did that hit anyone else? Like, is that got to be possibly one of the worst names for a film production company?
Or the greatest name. They know. They know what they're doing. They're honest about it. My music note here is music made on a $20 Casio keyboard.
Yeah.
And of course, Philip Glass did the music. And again, because we're just the podcast of Baywatch and South Park references, my mind immediately went to the Christmas special in the first season where Philip Glass does the South Park school play. And it basically, it sounds like this. The music that the South Park guys do to rip off Philip Glass sounds like this intro. It's crazy.
I noticed there were a couple moments where it almost faded into the Imperial March. Where this synthesized pipe organ sound, it just had this like dun dun dun. I'm like, come on,
That actually happened to me too. I did a double take.
And then we get to our first encounter with bees.
Bees.
Definitely bees. Bees with an exclamation mark. Yeah, it's just a wall of bees. And we get our first listen to Candyman. And one thing I will give this movie, they cut corners on the budget in some places, but they absolutely did not skimp on their Candyman voice budget. They made it sound awesome. And Candyman kind of says some stuff, and he says that he needs to spill blood. And what is blood for? But for spilling.
Yeah, I'm glad because it starts with like, they say I spill innocent blood. And for a moment, I thought they were going to do the, but what makes someone innocent? And he's like, no, I do just go around spilling blood. And here's why, because it's fucking awesome.
And I mean, Candyman, I could talk to you about the biology of blood and what it's for and how it's used to oxygenate the body and carry things around. There's a lot of functions for blood. It's not just for spilling. Get on Wikipedia. Well, it's 1992. You can't get on Wikipedia, but
That's the best use for it.
okay. I'm going to be keeping a serious distance from John going forward.
And that's why John lives in the Inland Empire.
That's why John
everybody.
lives in the Inland Empire for our safety.
I think we covered that before.
So then the bees get really agitated, and you just see swarms of bees like blacking out the skies of Chicago. It's crazy.
Yeah, from the right side of the screen, there's this enormous swarm, and then like a second, very poorly digitally inserted one like joins it from the other side of the screen.
Oh, they had no digital animation budget. This was done the old school hand-drawn way. And he says, I came for you. And we fade into Helen. Well, we see a brief shot of Helen, who's going to be our protagonist, but then we go into we already go into a flashback. We're already flashing back in this movie to a story involving Candyman, because Candyman is this urban legend that everybody's heard of, and we're hearing this story.
Do you think it's too harsh to call out the protagonist as discount Gillian Anderson?
Nope, that's a great way of describing her. She's absolutely discount Gillian Anderson. She's interviewing some young woman, and apparently there was this girl who was cheating on her boyfriend. So like this guy, Billy, she invited over one day.
Yes, Billy.
And they're like getting frisky on the couch. And oh yeah, who is Billy? John, for the folks at home.
Billy, for our loyal listeners, knows all about the 90s erogenous zones because it is once again Ted fucking Raimi.
I know. He is exploring all the erogenous zones throughout the 90s.
Except this time he's a biker bad boy. So he's got his 90s center part haircut and a leather jacket with a plain white t-shirt underneath.
He looks like a 50s
He stepped out of
greaser.
Grease. Yes.
There is no escaping Baywatch. There really is. We are trapped in this perpetual Baywatch universe. This is the true horror of the movie.
No, this is the peak. I'm out at this point. I got me some Ted Raimi. I'm good to go.
So they're getting frisky. She takes her top off, and you think, okay, horror movie, young couple action, typical horror movie stuff. But she's like, no, we need to go upstairs and go into the bathroom. What?
And then she tells him to go back down.
Right, but the reason why she's invited him up to the bathroom is to talk about the Candyman legend.
Or as the narrator of this story tells us, to do with Billy what she never gave her boyfriend.
Yeah, blue balls?
Talking
what
about
is this?
Candyman? Make him talk to a mirror?
Interrupting, fooling around to discuss urban legends in a really inconvenient part of the house.
This is the moment where we're introduced to the hook-handed ghost killer, which is the most cliched ghost story that every kid has told or heard about around any campfire ever across the entirety of the world.
Yeah, they do. I feel like they do an interesting take on it. But yeah, it is very much, established ghost story tropes. So we learn the rules of Candyman. Basically, if you say Candyman 5 times into a mirror, he will appear behind you. And as the woman who's telling the story says, and will start breathing down your neck. Not kill you. They don't explain him killing you with a hook hand. He's just going to come and breathe on you slightly on the back of your neck.
Which is weird because the only one of these things that winds up happening is someone getting their neck breathed down. Because Ted Raimi is slowly starting to massage her breast while saying Candyman only 4 times. And she kicks him out of the bathroom to go back downstairs.
But the way he's doing, he is into this. This is weird, but he is into this as foreplay.
Yeah, this is not sexy talk. And
no,
she is far too much of a logistical nightmare. Go upstairs, go downstairs, dance around for a while.
He's hitting those erogenous zones, though, so it doesn't really matter what he says. He wrote the tape on it.
It's true.
Mm-hmm,
this is true.
He did. So after he fails to say it 4 times, she sends him down, and she's not doing anything in the bathroom other than lingering. He has time to go get a beer, sit down on the couch, get comfortable.
She's admiring the crucifix around her neck, which is big old horror cliche of far too many crucifixes everywhere.
Yeah.
Because Jesus...
But there's not really any talk of Jesus. The narrator who's telling the story, this really weird story, apparently somehow knows that the girl upstairs said Candyman a 5th time and then just gets straight up murdered.
Yeah, so a different person said Candyman for the 5th time, or is it the first because a few minutes have passed? How the fuck is this supposed to work?
It is very inconsistent about actually summoning Candyman. There are several moments where it doesn't make sense.
And was it just me, or was... okay, there's one of 2 options here. Either years and years of shitty jump scares has ruined jump scares, or that was a really shitty jump scare.
Both.
Good to know.
The answer is C.
I mean, I didn't register a jump scare in this, so I guess that speaks for itself.
Flash of him appearing behind, blood coming through the ceiling.
Yeah, this is a weak ass ceiling.
Really?
Yeah,
She just got killed and the blood just comes pouring through. Like it rips through as though they cut the floor and the next layers underneath it.
she's got xenomorph blood, but it's red. That's the only explanation for this blood coming through the ceiling. So we're now with Helen, finally, with her interview subject. Loved looking at the tape recorder.
And casual cigarette smoking is casual.
Casual cigarettes, just so much casual cigarette.
This
smoking.
movie is brought to you by cigarettes.
Brought to you, yeah, by cigarette, all the cigarette companies.
That'd be the remake today, is that Candyman actually is the cigarettes and that's why people are dying.
The reason why he finally gets burned up in the final
Yeah, see? It's poetic justice.
comes together.
Poetic justice, yeah.
And apparently Billy's hair turned white when he saw what happened.
I really just wanted to see a shot of him like that.
Yeah, they talk about people's hair going white at least twice in this movie, and you don't get to see it. Like, such a hair tease, this whole
And
movie.
another movie that I feel kind of ruined this movie a little bit was Ghostbusters. I just keep thinking of the line, I've seen shit that'll turn you white. It just makes me chuckle.
So, cut to Helen walking down a hallway and smiling because she's super into hearing about people getting killed by ghosts.
Oh, yeah, she is. She smiles at the most inappropriate times in this movie.
In the first half of the movie, for sure, and then at some point she forgets that that's a thing she's doing for her acting choices, then just kind of stops.
It's the Tommy Wiseau approach to acting.
We'll have to comment.
So then we meet Bernadette, who's Helen's BFF and co-writer on the thesis they're working on. And she is also conducting an interview, and it's more Candyman, whatever. But this guy that she's interviewing has the craziest look.
Yeah, he's really off-putting.
Like, I know men can't be lesbians, but he looks like a male lesbian. That is the only way to describe his appearance. So anyway, they finishes up with him, and Helen shares a cigarette with Bernadette because, again, this movie is brought to you by cigarettes.
Yeah, doesn't give her a cigarette, like lights one, has a few puffs, and then hands it over.
Was it her last cigarette? Was she running low?
That's impossible.
And not observing good COVID rules.
Yeah, COVID-92.
What? There's 73 more of them?
Change. Look it up.
So we get our first of many bird's eye views of this outdoor amphitheater at the University of Illinois, Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's with this amphitheater. And again, they hired this helicopter and they were going to get their money's worth with these bird's eye shots.
Kind of feel like the director was just super excited to shoot interesting things.
And then decided not to?
Yeah, it's this big concrete circle. Like, okay, is that what is that?
They kind of walk through it at one point.
They do, but not here. This is just an empty amphitheater. There are no people in this shot. And so we get this voiceover. The voiceover we'll later learn is Trevor. And he's talking about urban legends. And this one girl thinks that there's, the toilet alligators. There's that urban legend that I definitely remember hearing back in the day. That, oh yeah, in Miami, they people had these alligators as pets. And then when they were done with them, they flushed them down the toilet. Now there's these like monster crocs in the sewers. The guy's like, no, that's in New York. And it's kind of hinting at the theme of the movie about urban legends and perception, which is like, a cool topic to discuss.
I actually got super excited when I found out who the lecturer was. It was Mason from 24.
I don't remember him. So his name is Xander Berkeley.
Yeah.
And I remember him as the traitorous Secret Service agent in Air Force One.
And the traitorous Secret Service agent in Air Force One.
I looked him up. I looked at his filmography, like you guys said, 24, Air Force One, Terminator movies, and just nothing stood out. It just was that I know this guy from somewhere. He's that guy.
He's that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically giving a lecture about oral folklore reflecting the fear of urban society. Interesting topic. But then the bell rings and he says, "That's lunch."
I was about to say, you're at university and the bell rings? movies. Classes are going on at all different hours for all different lengths.
Right, a bell rings and he says, "That's lunch." And no, dude, that's not how universities work. It's lunch if you want it to be lunch. If you don't want lunch, it doesn't have to be lunch now. Maybe you got another class and you don't get to eat lunch. That's
University doesn't know how to university.
yeah. Unless University of Illinois at Chicago is like really weird and has high school rules.
Lunch is the biggest urban legend of them all.
What about second lunch?
Ooh, what about
It's
11
second breakfast. Jesus.
I'm going to start an urban legend right here. Second lunch.
Learn your 7 meals of the day.
Second lunch, and you have to believe in it to make it real.
Helen walks in. She kind of walks in towards the end of this lecture, and some of these students are lingering behind. And Trevor's getting a little too close to one of his female students, and he's definitely fucking her. Not even a spoiler for later in the movie.
What, honey? No, it's those bursting adolescent hormones. You're not teaching middle and high school here, dude.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of this setup, and the payoff is incredibly unsatisfying.
I cannot wait to talk about that payoff.
You either set it up in a way that makes you think he's cheating on her and it turns out he's not, or you do the reverse. But in this case, it's just literally what you expect happens. It's very disappointing.
It just goes to show his acting ability because he behaves around her as if they're definitely fucking, but that's not a great directing choice.
Yeah, you don't want that to come across in front of his wife.
Right, because Helen definitely freaking notices this and she's clearly jealous, calls him out on it, and he like passes it off like, no, yeah, we're definitely fucking, misdirection through telling the truth.
Pretty much.
So Helen's pissed off that he's teaching his class about what she's writing a paper about.
Yeah, what in the actual fuck was this?
I never quite understood why. Because he's like, I can't hold up my courses while you work on your, on your thesis.
I think the idea is that it was affecting her data. She was doing this sort of psychology experiment, and with a psychology experiment, you want it tends to be a circumstance where you want absolutely nothing to affect the study you're doing. If they know about it, then that ruins their response.
That's a great idea that the film in no way brings up.
No, it does not do that at all.
Just because I studied psychology for a year or two, I know this.
My thing was that, she wanted to wait until she had done it so that he could present her work or something. And it was just came across like, hey, lady, urban legends have been studied before.
Yeah, she's got the sense of this where she's the young detective that's going to blow this case wide open.
Blow what wide open? People talked about Candyman and you're recording their stories. What is your thesis?
Yeah, that's the actual goal of the thesis was never mentioned or developed or anything in any way.
There's very little academic rigor to anything that she does.
I mean, like I said, as a former psychology student, I tried to fill in the blanks, but it wasn't clarified in any way.
No, not at all. And Trevor rightly tells her that she's being unreasonable. Cut to Helen, transcribing the interview that we have just heard. We've just heard this interview onto an ancient pre-graphics computer.
Oh, hell yeah.
The screen is jet blue. I mean, to me, I was just thinking, well, clearly your computer's crashed, and now you're typing this into the core of your computer that's going to ruin everything.
Yeah, it's clearly done on some DOS computer.
There's a mathematical proof on the chalkboard behind it, too. And my note was, who solved my thesis?
Matt Damon.
Imagine Good Will Hunting. There's like a crossover, like his cousin lives out in Chicago. Is also a math savant.
Jeff Damon.
But no, we don't get that movie. We get the cleaning lady coming in. She is black, and that is important for this movie because of the commentary on race and class and all that stuff, because she overhears that they're talking about Candyman, and she's like, oh yeah, my friend knows somebody who was affected by Candyman, let me go call her. And she's like right outside, so she calls in her friend, and this was such awkward writing. Why not have just one character and have her come in and know Candyman and start engaging? We have to wait several seconds in order for the scene to get going.
The idea they were going for is that all the help is black. I think that was what they they were going for?
Maybe.
One of my issues with this movie is that low-class black families are way too trusting of the white people.
Oh, they are.
Here's what happens in this scene. The first lady who walks in and she's clean and she's like, oh yeah, let me get my friend. Hey, this lady wants to talk to you. And instead of going, why the fuck are you asking about these murders? Are you a reporter? Are you a cop? She's just like, oh yeah, here's the story, but you didn't hear it from me.
We've just met, and yet somehow I will trust you with absolutely everything.
Well, my friend told you my name, so, we good.
Oh, yeah. As soon as, Helen introduces herself to people, they instantly trust her. The fact that she tells them her name is all she needs. So the woman that gets brought in talks about a murder at the housing projects at Cabrini Green and how a woman was killed by a hook. It was definitely Candyman. Somebody called 911. Cops didn't respond. There's a whole thing. Anyways, basically there was a murder at Cabrini Green attributed to Candyman. So here's the crazy thing. It turns out both of these women believe in Candyman. So when the first woman walked in and was listening to the tape recorder where the interviewee was saying, Candyman, she didn't freak out. I would imagine that somebody who believed in Candyman would freak the fuck out if they heard somebody saying his name.
Well, I mean, there wasn't a mirror present, so,
Right. But you get the sense that everybody from this community believes in Candyman. And
I have had a fast food order that totaled up to $6.66, and more people lost their shit than this woman does.
Yep. They all believe in it, but it doesn't faze them.
She's just like, oh, Candyman, huh? Let me get you my friend. And then the friend's all, yeah, here's the story, but you could also read about it in the newspaper instead of, fuck you, I'm not talking to you. I don't know who you are. Figure this out yourself.
Speaking of newspapers, now we get the old school newspaper search cliche.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to watch some microfiche being investigated.
And I have to say, I kind of miss microfiche. It's a horrible cliche and just purely expositional, but I don't know, that motion, it's soothing. It's like meditation.
I don't. I always saw it in movies, and I was whatever the fuck I was researching, and we finally got to do this. You get that thing lined up just right, and fuck, you turned it too far. Now you've gone 80 pages, past. Microfiche is a pain in the ass.
And she's also looking at it in a library to classical music, which just made me think of Seven for some reason. Did Seven rip off this scene?
Ooh, theory.
Yeah, but Morgan Freeman did not get progressively more and more filled with glee at the horrible shit he was doing.
I know. She's going through all these headlines about this brutal murder.
She is so fucking happy about this.
She's grinning like a school kid who just found a secret stash of candy. It is upsetting, actually.
I was going to say porn, but yeah.
Or that. Either or, we don't have to limit ourselves. Yeah, so it's talking about, there's a serial killer, and then you see the body of the woman who was murdered at Cabrini Green.
Bernadette totally calls her out on this.
In the next scene?
Yeah. When they're at her apartment, she's like, okay, look, this is about someone who fucking died.
Yeah, maybe you need to chill the fuck out, Helen. Yeah, because in the next scene, Helen is showing her findings to Bernadette at her apartment, and she's got printouts from the microfiche. And apparently the building that she lives in, that Helen lives in, that we're seeing them in now, is a sister building to the Cabrini Green housing project. So essentially the building that she's living in was supposed to be a housing project. And then I guess they realized it was way too deep into the white neighborhood, so they sold them as condos.
Yeah. So we're introduced to you live on an ancient Indian burial ground cliche just along with the others.
She does this really weird thing with a couple of newspaper printouts though, where she's like, okay, so this is Cabrini Green. Now look at this one. And it's obviously not the same building. And she's like, do you see it? And I'm like, do I see that this one's a lot slimmer?
They're blatantly different.
And then she pulls the surprise of, this one's not Cabrini Green. What the fuck?
I know. So apparently the woman who was murdered, the murderer came through the medicine cabinet because the medicine cabinets in these buildings connect to the different apartments if you remove them.
And as we go on this tracking shot, do you notice the most irritating thing to me now? The African masks on the wall. There are always African masks
So
on the wall?
this is my new search.
Why does everyone have African masks on the wall?
No, it's always academics in movies.
Yes.
Academics in movies always have African masks on the wall. That is correct. Because it shows how worldly and cultured they are and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and it's just not. It comes across as creepy now.
Little bit. I mean, or maybe that's intentional because of the racial disparities that they sort of explore in the film.
This was supposed to be the project, so they had them available for when you moved in.
Oh, God.
And I'm going to hell.
Jesus Christ. Helen feels the need to demonstrate to Bernadette that there's this gap between apartment units in her building. So they go to her bathroom to remove the medicine cabinet to show that you can go through the walls. And there's no purpose of this except to get the characters in front of a mirror. That's the only reason they do this. There's no reason
purpose.
No, there's purpose later on.
We'll get there, though.
There is, but I feel like you could just tell somebody that and they'd believe you. You don't need to go pulling medicine cabinets
I
out.
don't know. I actually kind of like this setup because, for starters, the reality of the circumstance, because you're setting up a way a serial killer could get in. And second of all, just to, as you say, to build up the whole tension of standing in front of a mirror, which I actually kind of liked. But
Helen asks Bernadette if she believes in the whole Candyman thing, and then she's like, of course not. It's like they start saying Candyman into the mirror, and Helen says it 5 times. Bernadette doesn't.
And Helen calls her a pussy for it.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And why doesn't this summon Candyman?
yeah.
It's established in this universe that Candyman does exist, that doing this will summon him. Is it because she didn't turn the lights off?
The inconsistency here is...
Right, because all the other times he gets summoned, like the person like turns the light out for dramatic effect right before he shows. So because she didn't do that, he can't show up.
Apparently.
So after Helen completely fails to summon Candyman in the manner that the movie has established one summons Candyman, she's alone in her bed in the dark and hears a noise, and we get a literal jump scare. Trevor jumps onto the bed and scares the shit out of Helen. And here's the thing. This movie oscillates between having really good jump scares and having really terrible
Well, the
jump
one thing I
scares.
want
And
to clarify is the difference between a jump scare and a full scare. A jump scare is when something actually scary is happening. A full scare is the build-up that the audience thinks something scary is going to happen, but it turns out just to be the husband landing in bed. And this is an example of a terrible full scare.
But he jumped, so I'm calling this a jump scare.
He literally jumps into bed, though.
He terrifies her by jumping into the
He
bed.
jumps into
And
a
she thinks
full
she's being
scare.
attacked. Hey, she thinks she's being attacked. That is a full scare.
And
for
subsequent, she still feels like she's being attacked, especially the expression on her face.
So Trevor's been drinking, so probably out fucking Stacy. So Stacy's the name of the girl that he is definitely having sex with, his student, which is totally not problematic, I swear. Sarcasm.
Did you also notice that the bedside lamp was really bright? I mean, I know I've talked about it before, but this movie bugs me because of how bright everything is. It's ludicrously sunny in this movie.
Right. I mean, they're probably not using the most expensive film stock, so you do need to probably light the scene a bit more than you normally would. I don't know. Trevor's been drinking, and then we have some Helen staring out into nothing. Is she starting to believe in Candyman?
Yeah, she does that.
A lot.
Yeah. She just stares at middle distance.
If she's not smiling at murder, she's just kind of staring.
Hobbies: smiling at murder, stare off into the middle distance.
Worst Tinder profile ever. So then we get more aerial car shots with Casio keyboard music.
Love it.
This is because we're following Helen and Bernadette. They're going to go investigate Cabrini Green, the building where the murder happened. And Bernadette is not fucking around. She's got multiple tasers and stun guns and pepper spray. I mean, this is Chicago. She should probably have several guns. That's the one thing she doesn't have. But she is worried about this place.
And then we get into the discussion about how they look like cops. Now,
no, they fucking don't.
do not. And I have to write this repeatedly in my notes with increasingly large letters and with increasing numbers of exclamation points. They look nothing like cops. Wardrobe was not paying attention here, or the director was not telling them to pay attention, because this is an ongoing theme that they look like cops, and they look like it in no way whatsoever. They look like two women tourists going to a shady neighborhood. That is 100%
Yeah,
what
two
they look
middle-class
like.
women going to the ghetto.
Hold on. You're telling me that your cops don't wear leggings and giant earrings?
It's
Not in Los Angeles. I mean, I don't know how you guys do it out there in the Inland Empire.
And do their hair up almost like a peacock fan? Your cops don't do that? Man, LA is weird.
So yeah, Bernadette's like freaking out because she says that they look like cops. Again, no, they don't. And Helen tells her that they've got a real shot at this thesis, like exploring this whole community. Again, this ill-defined thesis.
Yeah, how? No one knows.
yeah.
Because they've got this whole community that, you know, is projecting their situation, their fears, the poverty that they live into, and really believing in this fiction, this urban legend.
Well, the thing that I actually liked about this exchange, which I want to give credit for, is that their goal seemed very empowered, especially for other movies that we've seen at this time. But then it gets ruined later on, which really broke my heart, because they were pursuing their career, and this was something they were very passionate about, and that uplifted me a little with regards to, oh, maybe this is a story that's going to explore that dimension, as opposed to, cooking for your husband, and, your life is entirely defined by whether or not you have a husband or not.
Yeah, it does go there. But in this moment, it's like, hey, Trevor and co, they wouldn't go into the ghetto for this, but we would. So more dramatic helicopter shots, this time of the projects. They pull up to the Cabrini Green building, and we get the most bizarre looking gangsters I have ever seen put to film. Their gang colors are those like teal, purple, white coffee cups.
It's the interior design of Taco Bell.
Yes, that is what they went with
The
for
teal,
their
the
gang
pink,
colors.
and purple windbreakers, which is very 90s. It's very 90s, though.
One of them's got a purple beret on, but they're supposed to be intimidating, and no, the fuck they're not.
Seriously, wardrobe had issues in this movie.
Yeah, do the Crips and Bloods have like a trademark on their
There's
colors?
one guy, I don't remember if he's right here, but you see him prominently throughout the movie when you see the gang members, and he's got like the Fat Albert and the Cosby Kid's flat cap that's like super round.
Yes, he does.
It sticks out like 5 inches on each side of his head.
That's another great merch idea for when we launch our store.
So they get out of the car, and immediately these gangsters, in big air quotes, start kind of harassing them, but like not really doing, like they're not getting physical with them. They're like maintaining.
It's almost like they're the neighborhood watch.
Yeah, that's more what they are. But we're told later that these are the gangsters that run this building.
And they really observe giving them good personal space.
Yeah, they give them great personal space.
Where are you going? We're going
Are you
inside.
cops? Are you cops? Where are you going?
And no, again, movie, these people do not look like cops.
They look like they're about to go shopping at Macy's.
And then they start throwing out their warning whistles and 5-0 coming up the rear, 5-0.
And these are the laziest gangsters I've ever seen, because again, they make no attempt to restrain them or block their way.
And
the
they can't
minute
use
they start
stairs.
walking up some stairs, the Bernadette and Helen walk up some stairs, and they don't follow them. They're like, fuck that. That involves lifting feet.
To which Helen says, it's cool. They think we're cops. They won't follow us.
What? What? But they just followed you throughout the entire ground floor. And again, you don't look like cops. I do not buy that they think you're cops at all.
Seriously, movie.
In this world, cop means the undercover product protection person at Nordstrom.
Yes.
Yes.
That is the new definition of cop. It's time that the world know.
So Helen is explaining that, they think we're cops, they're not going to follow us. But Bernadette's the one that explained to you that you look like cops and that's going to cause you trouble. She's the one who's like plugged into this world, but you're like white splaining to her what's going on in the hood.
Yeah.
And just to put a cherry on it, while they're going up the stairs, we got a lens flare. And my note was, if this movie inspired J.J. Abrams, shame on you, movie.
Well, no, it's more of what DPs were complaining about with J.J. Abrams is, lens flares and stuff happen. And they're like, we spend our lives trying to figure out how to stop these from happening. And people are so used to seeing them in movies that they're just adding them now. What the fuck?
It's a stylistic choice. No, they look terrible. Stop it. Cut that shit out.
Well, we're not going to see lens flares, but we are going to see a lot of camera flashes now because Shutterbug Helen takes out her camera and is starting to photograph literally everything. And my question here is, did those pocket cameras automatically reload the film? I remember having to...
Yeah.
Some of them did? Okay.
That's it when you got the fancy kind. Yeah.
Yeah, when you got the fancy pocket cameras. I remember you had to scroll to the next frame of film on the wheel.
Develop calluses on your thumb. Yeah.
And while I will criticize wardrobe, there is one thing that I thought came across really well, and it comes out in these upcoming scenes, and that's the paintings on the walls and the graffiti and the artwork. That was done very well.
Yeah, the art department for sure, because we see this very elaborate graffiti that says "Sweets to the Sweet." We're going to see this multiple times.
This very adequately will educate the modern audience on how you had to take a panoramic photo in the 90s. You literally took a photo, slid the camera over, take another one for like 5 or 6 shots to get the whole damn thing.
Yeah, and you had to hope that they would overlap well.
Right.
I mean, and some of the fancier ones had a mechanical function that helped you out with that, but I doubt this one had it. And we get a dog pop scare. A lady literally just opens the door to scare them and stare them down with a giant Doberman.
Woof. That is how disappointing that was.
We will later learn that this lady's name is Anne Marie, but she just opens her door to add some tension to
I
this
don't even
sequence.
remember seeing her at this point. It's just the door opens and the dog barks at him.
Oh, she opens the door for Macy's clerks.
She had a few items from the Wish book that were being delivered.
That's a sign you got to put outside your door. I only open the door to Macy's clerks.
So they reach the apartment where the woman was murdered, and they open the door, and the sound effect they use for this door, it's like a submarine bulkhead being opened. You've heard this sound effect before. It's been in a million video games, but I mean, I get the door is like rusty or whatever, but this is vault door levels of squeak. Like, it's crazy. And so Hella's just taking pictures of the apartment. They make their way to the bathroom to investigate the medicine cabinet. And there's a hole, because this is supposedly where the killer came through. And there's like holes going into the back. It does not look like an exact replica of her place. The layout looks kind of different.
No, but again, like I said before, there is a brilliant... It gets nice and suspenseful here, which again, I kind of like. But it's with no payoff, sadly. But you take what you can get.
Helen says she's going to go into the hole and take a look around. She's going to brave potentially getting all the hepatitis because this is a grody ass apartment. Everything's rusted over.
She would be lucky to just walk out with hepatitis.
Oh, yeah. Hepatitis would be a good day for her. So she goes through the hole and Bernadette's like, "You've got 5 minutes." Or what, Bernadette? What are you going to do if she's not back in 5 minutes?
5 minutes or she gets a taser to the ass.
But she's not going to go there and chase after her with a taser.
One of those rare occasions why I wonder why no one brought flashlights. I mean, I know, we're in the bright day and everything so far has been bright day and we shall continue having bright day for the rest of the time that we're here. But you would have thought, with all the tasers and pepper spray that Bernadette would have brought a little flashlight, something.
I mean, on subsequent trips, Helen will bring a flashlight, but just not for this one because we need atmosphere, I guess. And she takes a lot of pics. She goes through this hole in the medicine cabinet and there's just lots of holes in the walls and she's just taking pictures of all the holes. That is...
But you don't see what she's taking pictures of. You just see the multiple holes and the flash going off.
It seemed like she was taking pictures of holes in the wall.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, we don't see her. We don't see what the subject of these photos are. She's rounded a corner, and you just see the flash going off.
Do you think this is her secretly looking for a new apartment, just making estimates?
Wow.
She's going to gentrify the fuck out of these projects. While Helen is away, the movie thinks it's really important to do a nice long sequence with Bernadette picking up Helen's jacket, draping it over the tub, and sitting down. This is like a good 60 seconds.
You don't expect her to stand for 5 minutes, do you?
I mean, no, but do we as the audience need to know that what she's doing if she's just sitting?
We need to know that she cares enough about her own clothes to fuck up her friend's jacket by putting it down first.
This is what I mean by suspense with no payoff. Because you could have a Bernadette sequence where she's sitting there and gradually bees are building up on the wall, you know, like the Birds Hitchcock sequence, but that didn't happen. It was a suspense with no payoff, which just kind of annoying.
It was suspense?
There's no suspense. It's like we're just showing that she's worried, and it's like we got that when Helen was going through and she was freaking out.
Being begged not to go through, yeah.
So after all these holes, we get to one final hole, and it's a hole in the mouth of a giant mural of Candyman's head.
This mural creeped the fuck out of me as a kid. Just the idea of like that actually being a mouth and you could crawl through it.
Holy well painted mural, Batman. It was really good.
And nowadays, I went, that's really well done.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Like I said, the painting and the set designers for that were spot on. If only they'd have talked to them about getting wardrobe sorted.
And so she's taking pictures of this, and there's offerings of candy in front of this mural.
Yeah, because his name's Candyman, so they leave candy, but there's razor blades inside the candy. So are these sarcastic offerings? I don't know what's going on.
Right. It's like it's referencing the urban legend that, you know, people were putting razor blades in the candy, and I don't think they ever did. Like, people have fucked with Halloween candy, but it's so rare, like 100 times in the 20th century.
It's super rare, and it's someone the kids lived with, like fucking with their candy once they got it.
Right. What is the layout of this building? Because she had to like crawl through a medicine cabinet, and the mural is facing outwards. Where is this? I'm so confused. Like, how are the candy bringers getting to there? I don't know what the fuck's going on.
I think she stumbled across it because of the whole medicine cabinet trick, but there's got to be like 3 other entrances into this.
Yeah, she did this the hard way for sure.
Definitely.
Cut back to a very stressed out Bernadette. She's smoking a cigarette, of course, and sees a creepy doll in the tub because, Jules, as you said, there's a lot of cliches in this. Got to have a creepy doll somewhere. This is one of the bad jump scares because Helen pops her head through the medicine cabinet and freaks Bernadette out.
Yells her name as she's coming through.
As if she knew she was being part of a jump scare.
That's exactly what I mean. There's no payoff. You're gonna do this suspense. It's gotta build to something real. Otherwise, it's phony.
No, not payoff. It's payback. Because when they were looking through the medicine cabinet into the empty apartment at her place, Bernadette's like, oh shit, there is someone in there. And then when she looks, she gives her like that little poke in the sides to make her jump. Payback, bitches. It's payback.
Okay. John was paying way more attention to that than I was.
Ah, dear.
And so she's out of film. No shit, you're taking pictures of lots of holes.
Everything.
But apparently it didn't occur to her to bring more than the roll of film that was in her camera. Rolls of film are not big. You could have several on you.
Yeah, she says, like, I need more film. We got to go back. Like, to the car or the store? Like, how far? Home? You have more of it home? Where is the film that you need to get? And Bernadette's like, no, fuck this. We're leaving.
Yeah, we're leaving. You're done. You should have brought more film, lady. But now we get a good jump scare because they close the mirror and it's Anne-Marie. Well, we don't know she's Anne-Marie yet, but the lady with the dog is in the mirror kind of looking like Candyman and scares the shit out of Helen and Bernadette. I'm like, that's a good jump scare.
I disagree. Dog jump scare repetition still is shit.
That's not the dog, though. It's her.
It's not the dog. It's her and the dog kind of looking like Candyman. You know, you wouldn't expect this so close to the crappy Helen through the mirror one. I thought it was good.
genuinely find jump scares to be cheap. That's not good horror. It's necessary now because everyone's done it, but I consider all jump scares to be cheap. It's basically going up behind someone and going, ugh.
Now, this brings us to one of my favorite what the hell moments of the movie.
And what would that be, John?
Well, Anne-Marie, we're about to, get her name, is yelling at him, what the hell are you doing here? You can't go into other people's apartments. You don't belong here. Come inside.
Right. Before we get there, though, she's yelling at them in this abandoned apartment.
Yeah, so what's she doing in there, too?
Well, but because she probably heard them futzing around in there, but
Right.
I couldn't hear this line properly, but it sounded like Anne-Marie asked them if they're looking to move into this shithole apartment.
The secret story.
I didn't catch that.
And Helen's like, no, and then preemptively stresses that they're not cops.
No shit, you're not cops.
You're from the perfume counter.
You're here for free samples.
And Helen diffuses this by, again, introducing herself, giving her name, and gives her a business card. And that is how Helen gets black women to trust her.
Mm-hmm.
Just introduces herself, and apparently that is all she's got to do.
Yeah, we're right back to these black people trust white people far too easily.
Way too easily. So Anne-Marie invites them back to her apartment, rightfully asks them if their study's going to make sure it doesn't have any racial bias in it. Are you going to say that we're gangbangers and drug addicts? Great question, Anne-Marie. You should definitely ask that of academics. And she tells them, look, we're not all like the guys downstairs. She's hinting at the gangsters,
Right.
big air quote gangsters. And so you're not all just slightly annoying, too lazy to go upstairs? Is that what you're talking about? You don't certainly mean scary gangsters.
Giving you personal space, letting you walk wherever you want to walk.
Anne-Marie, are you about to get up all in our personal space? Is that what you're saying? And she's like, look, all I want to do is just raise my baby. She's got a baby, and she apologizes for being gruff earlier and hints that most white people that go around there are dicks. And I could see that living in the projects. But also, again, if that's the case, you trusted this white lady way the fuck too fast.
Exactly.
The baby does a mess on her, and Anne-Marie opens up about the lady who got murdered next door, because apparently Anne-Marie is the one who heard it all go down through the wall. Basically, she heard screaming. She called 911. She's the one who called 911. Nobody came, and she is convinced Candyman did it. She's scared of Candyman.
And now it's time for dinner.
And now it's time for dinner. Overlapping dickish laughter will take us to a restaurant.
Wait. Did we skip over the music note of synthesized choir voices?
It's all the same music for the entire movie. There's no other notes to have, except for when it's a piano.
I think this is when I noticed it, and it started to build. But yeah, now we get to meet Benjamin Franklin.
Yes. Poor man Stephen Fry is playing Benjamin Franklin in this scene. Oh my god, I just love the look of this guy so much. And this is the guy who is apparently the current expert on urban legends.
Not just urban legends, Candyman.
Yeah, but also the urban legend, they're like, yeah, our thesis is gonna bury your ass.
How does that work?
I don't know what kind of great leap you would have to take in urban legends to be similar to, the earth is what goes around the sun. This is the level that they seem to be implying that they're going to change shit.
Bury my ass is got to be a sex thing. I wonder if I should try it. Just bury my ass and see what happens.
You go do that.
You do you, Jules. You do you. And by the way, everybody at this table is smoking. You guys remember when you could just smoke in restaurants? I remember the smoking and non-smoking sections. And Stephen Fry, Benjamin Franklin, is giving them shit. He is being condescending as fuck.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't get this line. He says something about them before they go to academic Bolivia. I did not get this reference.
I think maybe it's supposed to be a play on Oblivion, they're going to get wiped out, but for some reason Bolivia was wordplay. I don't know. He offers to help them, and they said, we're not ready to hand over any data. And he's like, well, that's the perfect time for me to help you. What the fuck is this conversation even?
Did the person who wrote this screenplay not go to college?
I'm sorry, I spent this entire scene just locked in his gorgeous curls.
They are magnificent.
Look is magnificent.
I mean, he has some unearned confidence given how he looks, but he doesn't give a fuck. He is cocky as shit. I am convinced this man was not acting. They just think this was just a guy they knew, and this is how he behaved, and they're like, you got to be in my movie. He asked them whether they know the story of Candyman, and they say no. How the fuck are you going to bury him if you aren't aware of the foundational myth of the urban legend you're supposedly writing this thesis about?
Which he actually asks them that very question.
Yeah.
He's like, how can you possibly hope to bury me if you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about? Here, let me fill you in, kids. All right.
And then he tells the story and for some reason doesn't use the guy's real name.
He never had a real name. He's always known as Candyman. We don't know how he got that name.
If you have a last name, man, you have to call your son Candy.
There is something very similar to last name man, and I can't wait for us to get there.
So he starts explaining the legend of Candyman. He says the legend first appeared around 1890. Candyman was the son of a slave who did really well post-slavery. He grew up in polite society. He got a great education and he became an artist, and he started doing portraits for rich people, including this one wealthy landowner who wanted him to do a portrait of his daughter. Fell in love with the daughter, got her pregnant, and essentially Candyman got lynched at Cabrini Green. They hacked his hand off.
Which didn't exist then, but that's not the point.
That general area. So they hacked his hand off, and apparently there was an apiary nearby, so they went and got a fuck ton of bees, and the bees stung him to death. And then they burned his body and scattered his ashes all over Cabrini Green.
True story. True story.
And again, it's one of those things about, I'm not sure if this was a Clive Barker thing or in the script, but the one thing I will give credit is that the backstory of the ghost figure was really well done. I actually kind of like that.
Yeah, this was a really well told tale.
I kind of wish it would have flashed back to it for us, because instead it's just Ben Franklin talking and these slow, steady shots of Helen staring into the distance while almost film noir mood lighting. It's light on her eyes and dark everywhere else, but not incredibly dramatic with it.
This was a low budget film, and I think doing even one sequence as a period piece would have broken the budget.
I would have missed his hair. They'd have cut away.
Yeah, but this would have been a period piece, and we would have so much more of that hair.
True.
You're right. It would have broke the budget. It could not withstand those locks.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't even have white hair budget for all these people who supposedly had their hair turn white after Candyman attacks.
Oh, I thought you just meant budget to do the white people's hair. Because apart from Ben Franklin, it's all very, very short haircuts on the guy.
And all the money went towards the bees.
Oh boy, we will talk about the bees in a minute. So Helen is now back at Cabrini, or is it Cabrini or is it Calibri?
Cabrini.
Cabrini. Okay, I've been saying it wrong.
Calibri's a font.
Fuck. Well, too late to go back and redo those lines. Anyways, so Helen is back at Cabrini Green, taking pictures of the Candyman mural, and afterwards sees my favorite character of this movie.
Yes! Jake,
he looks like a actual kid Gary Cole. He's not Gary Cole, but he looks like a young Gary Cole.
What I just said about someone having the last name of Man, first of all, his last name is Guy.
Of course.
And his first name is Dejuan. Dejuan. So he is the one guy.
The one guy! Oh my word, that is a beautiful detail.
The name of the actor who plays Jake?
Yes.
Oh, that's a fucking fantastic name.
And not only that, there is an episode of Baywatch
No.
where Hoff gets injured and is potentially paralyzed for life, and while recovering, meets him, who is a murder witness in LA, being hidden from Chicago, relocated from Chicago to LA because he witnessed a murder.
Get the fuck out of here.
Unbelievable.
Everything is Baywatch.
Everything is Baywatch.
Oh, John, drop the mic. It doesn't get better than that.
God.
Oh, God. Well, we're not even halfway through the movie. I'm done, man. That was the best thing ever.
Amazing. That is goddamn.
Oh my goodness me. That is unbelievable.
Anyway, he is my favorite part of this movie because Jake has seen some shit. And I think the actor has seen some shit. This kid has got a 1,000-yard stare that is earned. this Dewan kid, like, they clearly took him from like the most gang-riddled neighborhood. He's like seen people shot in front of him. He's seen it all, and he's like 9. And they just put him in the movie. He's like, you got the crazy 1,000-yard stare look. Perfect.
Looking into the one guy's past, they originally wanted him in Boys in the Hood, and it was like the studio said he was too young to be in the movie, basically, because he was like 8 years old at the time. But these people kept working with him little bits here and there, and they're like, no, this kid is going places.
Yeah. Anne-Marie isn't home. Apparently that's important to the scene. His name is Jake. Again, has to tell him that he's not a cop.
This script wasted so many lines on I'm not a cop. It makes no sense in any way, shape, or form.
Because again, lady, you do not look like a cop. And by the way, do you know what's going to make me think you're a cop really fucking fast? If without preemption.
Without even being asked. Yeah, you just walk up, oh, hey, by the way, guys, totally not a cop here. Not me.
And he apparently knows where Candyman is.
This is another really weird moment because Jake knows where Candyman is, but he's afraid to talk. He's afraid to tell because, then Candyman's going to get him. And so she's like, all right, well, you don't have to tell me. You can just show me. Unless you're too scared.
Yeah, she Marty McFlies him.
But he just admitted to being too fucking scared. So how is that leverage? I don't know. But anyway, he starts to show her, and as they're walking out, I don't know if it was there when her and Bernadette were walking in, but just there's this graffiti on the pillar that just says Cobra.
Everything is Baywatch and everything is G.I. Joe.
I couldn't help it. I had to keep that noted.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I was getting a little confused because it felt like the monster was being mixed up. He turned into a bit of Kaiser Soze at this point, Rat on Candyman, he'll get you, stuff like that, which, I don't know, it felt like the monster was starting to get, or the ghost was starting to get inconsistent at this point.
Well, you'll kind of find out why he's so scared in just a moment, though.
Right. It's a little more real for him.
Yeah.
He takes her out back, and there is just a giant, comically large pile of crap in the back. Like, giant pile of... I mean, there are chairs, there are cots in here, there's bed frames. It is just a giant pile of crap. Helen asks Jake about it. He's like, oh yeah, this is for the bonfire for the party we're going to be having. What?
What party? Yeah, she's just very casually, oh, someone building a bonfire. Yeah, for the party.
This pile is legitimately 10 feet tall. No, not even, like 20 feet tall.
I'd give it an even 14. I know my junk piles.
You do live in the Inland Empire. And it is like 50 feet long. It is huge. Bonfire?
Yeah, oddly sprawling, as you mentioned.
Yeah, almost as if a climax for a movie is going to happen at some point.
Normally, you would split this up into 5 different fires, especially if the whole community's going to be there.
Either that or it's almost 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Day.
We don't have that. We go from the 4th to the 6th. Just like you don't have a 4th of July.
Existentially, the 5th of November. It does not exist.
So he leads her to a public restroom that's just this standalone building. And once again, it's story time because apparently a kid got murdered by Candyman here. It was a kid who had learning disabilities, not the word they use.
Yeah, lines you could not put in a movie these days because he's like, yeah, the boy was weird. And she's like, what? He was crazy? He was insane? He's like, no, retarded. Just super cash. Nope, he's a retard.
Can't say that today. And so apparently the mother, this boy had a terrible mother because she was shopping at the store across the street and he was not behaving. And so, because he needed to use the bathroom. So she's like, just go to the bathroom across the street. Lets him go unsupervised. And Candyman got him, didn't kill him, but cut his dick off and left it in the toilet.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
And Jake, again, having been the one who, has seen some shit, is like, yep, they found the toilet. Can't get that put back. Ain't worth living after that shit.
Yeah, very matter of fact. And you see this flashback. You see just the insane amounts of blood all over here. And apparently they held the mother back so a Black Panther could go investigate.
Some big tough guy runs in and came out 5 seconds later, and his hair was white, but we don't get to see it again.
I mean, he was also wearing a black beret, which is why I called him a Black Panther. might not have actually seen his hair, but
He swapped berets and it fooled everyone.
so Helen tells Jake to wait for her there outside while she goes inside to investigate. And again, she's taking lots of pictures. And wow, this is a shithole bathroom.
What I was going to say is this accurately depicts the state of every men's bathroom up and down the country.
This is every truck stop bathroom. So she's investigating all the stalls, and apparently the smell is just horrendous because she's just coughing and gagging. And somebody has written on the wall, "Sweets to the sweet," but in literal shit.
I say this had to have been shit because it is textured. This is 3D.
Thick and caked on and brown and
chunky.
And very chunky.
Yeah. And so Sweets to the Sweet ends on the door where the kid got his dick chopped off. And then when you open the door, there's an arrow pointing at the toilet.
Definitely a poop arrow.
Yeah.
And she opens the toilet and it's full of bees.
Bees!
Yeah.
Toilet bees!
Classic toilet bees.
Oh, toilet bees.
So outside we see Jake and somebody in a leather jacket shows up. And because again, Jake gives no fucks. Nothing could, like, you could shoot Jake in the chest and he wouldn't flinch.
It's either acting or he can't act because he has just this one mode. But that one mode is hard as nails, motherfucker.
And it's great. He is my favorite. He turns around and he looks at me like Candyman. Like Candyman
Yeah.
just shows up and he doesn't give a fuck. In his mind, he sees Candyman.
Or is it in his mind?
Or is it in his mind? Because Helen gets stopped from exiting the bathroom by a group of gangsters. One of them's clearly from the purple Taco Bell gang. And the others are just a mishmash of ne'er-do-wells. And one of them is dressed in a long leather jacket, has a hook in his hand, and says, "I heard you looking for Candyman, bitch." And just beats her on the side of the head. Just knocks her the fuck out.
My note here is she's finally confronted by gangs in Shady Area, and she's stupid enough to return to this place without anyone else. And
Well, she tries to pull the, "Oh, I have people who know where I am, so you better let me go, or the cops will be here," sort of thing. And they're just like, "Yeah, right, bitch. No one knows where you at."
Whump. Just smacks her with the hook. The blunt end of the hook.
what would have made me giggle at this point is if she had have said, "I'm a cap."
I think she said she's not a cop.
No, she mentioned how, like, she's doing a research paper and, my colleagues know I'm here. She didn't introduce herself.
That's why she got hit.
Mm-hmm.
If she had just introduced herself and handed that card over, you would have told her all about the fact that he's not the real Candyman and he's just posing.
Been a great interview. She could have buried Ben Franklin with this.
Yep.
She forgot her superpower.
Absolutely. So the gangsters leave, and Jake goes into and she is she's like in a large pool of her own
Yeah,
blood.
substantial pool of blood.
Yeah. And so cut to a police lineup, and it's just various guys in leather jackets, all black, of course, saying, "I hear you're looking for Candyman, bitch." And is it just me, or police lineups are basically auditions for you to go to jail?
I was getting Usual Suspects vibes from these couple of sequences. I just wonder if there is a connection between the two.
Well, from what I've heard in real life, it's mostly a formality. It's not like a Usual Suspects where they bring in everyone they suspect into one fucking lineup.
Give me the fucking keys, you fucking cocksucker.
They take their suspect, and just to kind of eliminate some sort of doubt, there might be a few people from the department that they put in plain clothes and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's more of a formality.
So the guy that we saw do it is in the police lineup, so clearly he did it. And Helen has a fucking hell of a black eye.
Very nicely done.
Good
Very
job.
well done, makeup.
The set decks and the makeup department, great job in this movie.
They were holding meetings, like they were going out for drinks and shit, and they're like, "Oh, hey, costume designer, how about we go to like TGI Fridays?" And then they slip off to like the cool bar. They were not associating with wardrobe at all.
No. It's wardrobe nerds. So Helen is talking to who I have down as Detective Al Sharpton. And so she's like, "Yeah, it's number 5." And he says, "Good work." Like this was a quiz. Like she got the answer right. So good job, you.
Pat her on the head, give her a treat,
So apparently, this was Candyman all along. They've got their guy. Candyman's definitely not a supernatural phenomenon. Al Sharpton detective tells her that they never brought this guy in because they could never find someone who would testify. So they've known about him and just let him keep killing. And of course, there's no other evidence you could possibly collect other than testimony.
White woman testimony.
Gotta give me some of that white woman testimony because...
The problem is that he needed a basketball and a lifeguard.
Apparently, what Detective Al Sharpton says is that they don't even need Jake to testify because they have her. I'm sorry, fucking what?
But just to be safe, they sent him off to Los Angeles so Hoff could watch over it.
No, but it's like, I'm sorry, is your case not in any way enhanced by multiple testimonies that would confirm things? So out in the hallway, Helen has to because Jake's there, he's out in the hallway, has to calm him down because he thinks she snitched and he thinks that's going to bring him a lot of trouble. But she's like, no, Candyman's not real. It was just this guy. And he takes a sip from a cup and you cannot convince me that there wasn't fucking alcohol in that cup. This kid was definitely drinking to take the edge off. That is the vibe I got from him.
He was so into it. I mean, it was just the most intense way to drink a cup of water ever.
Again, my favorite character of this movie is Jake. So, despite having had a major trauma, including head trauma, Helen is now making a romantic dinner for Trevor.
Yeah. This is where the positivity of an empowered message kind of goes out the window.
Goes right down the fucking
Nothing wrong
toilet.
with making dinner. Now, how happy she is to be doing it is kind of another thing. Because he walks in and she's like, dinner. She jump attacks him. And he's like, hey, shouldn't you be taking it easy? You got hurt, take it easy. Maybe I'll do it. And she's like, no, it looks better. See?
Yeah, her eye heals really fast. Like crazy fast.
Yeah, because it was that swollen shut thing at the police station. And now there's maybe a bit of bruising?
A little bit of blackness, but other than that, yeah. What is this scene other than to show that Trevor's emotionally distant and most likely fucking his student, which we already know?
It's to give him a flashback later.
That's pretty much it. Well, yeah, and the flashback at the end of the movie. Because, there's even the oh, are you hungry? Did you already eat? And he's like, no, it's fine as I don't get any food.
And now we get Bird's Eye of the Amphitheater number 2.
Yeah, this is where we get introduced to the character known as Bad ADR, and it starts lasting for a substantial... Gets too big a role.
Yeah, this was definitely some bad ADR, but it was that moment where it looks like they are actually stepping into the amphitheater. But Helen brings up a good point of how, the guy got caught, but it was a bad thing that there had to be all these murders and nothing happened until a white woman got attacked.
Yeah, Helen is super woke about, racial inequality in the projects.
To which her black friend says, well, you got him caught, and that's what's important.
Yep, systemic racism, not a big deal. It's important that your thing got sorted out. So now they're in the parking lot elevator, and Bernadette reveals that her friend in the photo department was able to salvage Helen's photos because her camera got messed up during the attack.
Yeah, photo department? Again, is this Macy's?
The University of Macy's.
You used to have to go do family photos. You'd go to department stores. That's where they had the photo department.
That's what it is. This isn't a university. It's a Macy's.
Well, Trevor works at the university, so that's why they still go there to meet up with him and Ben Franklin.
You think this is a call out? The director, just never got to go to college and had to work at Macy's.
It's but they're not actually affiliated. They're not actually they think they're doing a doctoral thesis.
But also, if the film was exposed to sunlight, they're gone. I don't care how good your photo department is.
I guess the camera wasn't smashed that bad.
They were able to recover the photos, and she gives them a box full of...
slides.
Yeah, slides. Not even photos.
The photo department didn't give her negatives or prints. They gave her slides.
Because they knew that she would have a moment later.
Yes, where she goes through the projector. Yeah, dramatic projector moment.
Also, apparently, they are going to get published now.
Well, because of the attention they've been getting in the news, that's getting them some recognition and is increasing their chances of getting published. I think Bernadette's a little over optimistic of we're getting published now because we're famous.
Oh, it came across to me as because Helen got a hook to the head, they're now going to get published. And I'm like, I don't think is your thesis done? I don't think that's how getting published works.
Yeah, the thesis isn't even done, but it was more of, we have some name recognition. We're not just some nobody submitting a paper. We've got a little bit of weight behind us once we finally do submit.
Again, the screenwriter has never been to university.
The screenwriter is the director.
Never been to university.
Same person.
Same guy.
So Bernadette drives away. Helen goes up to her car, and Candyman appears, and he's apparently here for her.
This is the moment which really bugged me, because you just get a fully lit, during a sunny day, version of this terrifying entity that is supposed to be there, and because of that, it's not scary. It loses absolutely all fear at this point.
It's scarier because he does not have to rely on darkness to hide. He gives zero fucks.
Nah, I just thought Tony Todd from The Rock. That's all I thought.
And he's
It is
also
Tony Todd.
terrifying in that as well.
Oh, he's great in that. I love him as an actor, but it loses all fear when you just look at this fluffy dressing gown that he's wearing. Just it all becomes unscary at that point.
Oh, hell no. Fluffy dressing gown?
You mean fur-lined trench coat?
Yeah.
Which was badass?
It's not badass.
I want that fur-lined leather trench coat.
I
Fuck
don't
yeah.
care if one side of it has blood all over the end of the
Very
sleeve.
period accurate, right?
I mean, that suit that he has underneath and his shoes are not period accurate. But clearly, all the wardrobe budget went to this jacket.
It's ludicrous. I'm sorry. Just seeing him in full light just absolutely ruined any fear factor for Candyman.
It was still, for me, it was still strangely unnerving.
Disagreement.
Yeah, disagreement here. It was very unnerving. It was very brazen. And again, I my note here is just his voice is freaking awesome.
His voice,
the Candyman voice is phenomenal. Like his natural voice plus whatever post-processing they did on it, amazing.
And I like the fact that the voice didn't match with any lip syncing on that. That was actually intentionally bad ADR, which was good. The other ADR was just terrible filmmaking.
So she tries to get away and then is stopped by a flashback that stuns her.
Yeah, she goes into trance mode again.
Yeah, like flashbacks of the Candyman mural in Cabrini Green. It's a whole thing.
Calibri.
And he says he was obliged to come because she didn't believe in the stories. Fucking what?
Well, not just that. It's sort of a punishment because that guy getting arrested has sort of taken down Candyman's presence. Now, not so many people believe. He needs that belief to survive, and since it's her fault, she is going to be the means by which he comes back and rises back to power.
Right, but he's asking her to be his victim in order to achieve this. And it's like, hey, dude, you're not known for asking people's permission to kill them. You just killed them. Also, if people have stopped believing you and you need them to believe in you to exist and they no longer believe in you, you don't exist anymore. This scene doesn't happen. By the rules of your universe, you don't exist here.
Well, not everyone has stopped believing.
Okay, so enough have stopped believing that it's
waning.
a problem.
He's waning, but he's not out yet.
Okay, so yeah, he needs to shed innocent blood in order to have everybody keep talking about him.
Mm-hmm.
And more bees. Bees, exclamation. What's crazy now is that Helen wakes up on the floor of Anne-Marie's apartment.
Yeah.
Covered in blood. She finds Anne-Marie's dog's severed head just outside the bathroom next to a meat cleaver. And Helen's immediate instinct is to pick up this meat cleaver.
Yep. Because whoever cut that dog's head off could still be in there. And Anne-Marie is screaming. She might need some help.
And Anne-Marie is screaming because we look over at her baby's crib and it is drenched in blood. It's like a baby exploded in there.
Yeah, it was very much not apparent that the baby is just missing at this point.
Not at all. You're like, oh, fuck, she killed the baby too. But no, she did not kill the baby, as we will learn in just a moment. And Anne-Marie goes off on her, believing that Helen did something to her baby, which is a reasonable assumption because apparently Helen cut the dog's head off. We find out that it was her. So she attacks Helen, and Helen, after giving her a reasonable amount of time to calm down, whacks her arm with the meat cleaver.
Yeah, that took me aback a little.
Whoa, what the fuck have you been doing? Jules, do you have some secret meat cleaver life that we don't know about?
No, he said that stunned me as well, but Jules said it took him aback. I thought he said it took him back a bit. That's why I gave that like
That's what I said. I'm just like, what
old days.
weird...
It used to be a family game. Who could whack each other with the meat cleaver?
It took you back to what?
That's what English people do on the 4th of July.
Yeah, Sweeney Todd Day, I think they call it.
Those are razors.
Pedantic.
Anyway, so the cops bust in, and I really like this irony because woman screaming about her dog being killed and baby missing, the cops would not have shown up in the first place. But because Helen had a problem there, now the cops are around to arrest Helen.
Right. And here's the thing. They burst in, and Anne-Marie has the cleaver in her hand, and the cops don't shoot her.
Even when she makes the most half-hearted attempt to attack them with the cleaver and sort of gets caught in a feint. It's a really awkward moment. She wasn't sure whether to attack or feint, and it sort of simultaneously occurred.
Yeah, so Helen gets arrested, and we're going to take a quick break. But did she kill the dog? Was it Candyman? What the fuck is going on here? Well, we'll discuss that right after this.
I'm really happy that these pictures survived and that my husband's not cheating on me. I sure hope nothing supernatural happens to me on my way back to the car.
Helen.
Ah, shit. It's Candyman.
Helen, you look exquisite.
Thanks?
You made my congregation not believe in me. Without their fear, I cannot exist. Let me kill you to strike fear in their hearts and live forever in their minds. The pain will be exquisite.
Exquisite was on your word-a-day calendar, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
First of all, absolutely no to you killing me to make you immortal. That's a stupid thing to ask someone you've just met.
Rude.
And secondly, if you need people to believe in you to exist and they don't anymore, then you already don't exist. This isn't happening. I'm most likely just mentally ill.
I mean, I'm more of a symbol of the power of urban legends if believed by enough people, and...
Yeah, I know. I'm literally writing a thesis about this. No matter which way you slice it, you don't exist.
Ah, crap. No.
Well, that was weird. Time for me to go have a cigarette in a place that will seem really inappropriate in 30 years.
Hey, what are you doing in here? You don't belong here. Anyway, come inside. Let me tell you my life story.
You're a cop.
Look out, 5-0.
And we're back, and after Helen gets arrested, we cut to a gratuitously porny scene. So Helen is being forced to strip by a policewoman who doesn't have time for this shit. Doesn't give a fuck that Helen is traumatized and crying. Is it just me, or is Helen covered in way more blood than she had on her in the apartment?
Oh, yeah. Which makes me wonder how much of this was acting, because they most definitely used the corn syrup fake blood, and that shit dries.
Mm-hmm.
So when she's like kind of whimpering and wincing, it's, yeah, this invasion of her and she's traumatized, but she's probably peeling some skin off with those clothes too. Especially when they say to take her bra off and she's like, are you fucking kidding me? This hurts.
I thought this would have been a powerful scene had it not been for my flashback of Space Jam, where the idea that she must have taken off her clothes, rubbed herself with blood, and then taken on her clothes subsequently, because all the blood was underneath.
You have the weirdest flashbacks. I know you're talking about Wayne Knight, but still.
Yeah, no, her clothes are drenched in blood. She is drenched in blood.
Yeah, her clothes are bloody. And that's what I'm saying, as she's taking them off, like it's peeling skin with it, some of it. But yeah, way more than she had, because it was like midsection down with dog blood. And now it's like
her face, her hair,
all
like
over.
everything. Yeah, so basically it's just strip search her and get all the clothes as evidence. And there's no plot value to this scene. This is just so some pervert can like jerk off to a bloody woman stripping. That is the only purpose for this scene.
And Jules can think of Wayne Knight.
And for Jules to think of Wayne Knight, yeah. You know what this bloody naked woman reminds me of? Wayne Knight.
After being barbecued by some space aliens. It took me a minute to realize where you were going with it. Reminded me of Space Jam.
Yeah, I was like, I don't remember
Just
this much blood in
the
Space
fact that I'm
Jam.
not sure everyone knows how clothes work.
No, I think they knew in this one.
I'm just not sure about you anymore.
So she finally gets, she's like, been crying out to like take a shower and whatever. She finally gets a shower. She's finally in like not bloody clothes. And Detective Al Sharpton comes in and tells her she's under arrest. Doesn't tell her what for. She's just under arrest. Do you understand? And keeps asking her whether she understands. And I got to tell you, Detective Al Sharpton, I don't understand. I don't think this is how police procedure works, at least not on film.
Number 1, lawyer up. Always lawyer up. Number 2, Detective Al Sharpton is playing good cop, bad cop all by himself, even though there's other cops in the room.
He brings in some like random white detective and they just bad cop. They're both assholes to her.
Yeah, but Al Sharpton's like, all right, so they're going to press charges and everything. Do you understand? I need a phone call. Yes or no?
Yeah, like what the fuck? On a dime. But he also exposits in this scene that she was found with the meat cleaver and there's gaps in her memory and she's the one supposedly who killed the dog. So Helen tries to call Trevor, but he's not home even though it's 3 a.m. We will find out.
Mm-hmm.
Cut to her in a cheap jail set that's definitely not in some place in the valley. And she huddles over the toilet for some reason. Like she doesn't come across as nauseous.
Yeah, I was expecting bees to crawl out of it or something.
Yeah, it just drains creepily.
She's just over the toilet and then out on bail.
Yeah, but then we get like a flash of Anne-Marie's baby alone in a creepy part of Cabrini Green. And then you see Candyman's hook there. So got that. But like, is she seeing this? What is this? I mean, it's creepy imagery, but yeah. So Trevor bails her out the next day. They're going to have to get her through a throng of reporters. They cover her face. But surely with Trevor being there, they would figure out who she was. Like there's a way to figure, I don't know. And so now we watch a reporter reporting from the scene and...
We get the introduced to the worst journalist ever.
I know! She has never done a news report in her entire life. She is terrified.
I had to write down the final line because it was, I guess we'll have to follow this story. What?
I totally missed this whole thing. Oh my god,
she was atrocious. I get the feeling this actress was not given lines. She was just told to journalist here in a vague direction.
Journalist.
She absolutely was told to journalist.
This is the kind of performances I live for. I can't believe I missed this. Oh, shit.
This one is worth going back and watching because it is
all right.
Bonkers how bad this act. Yeah. So we're back in Helen's condo. This is where we've been watching this news report. And she and Trevor are talking to a lawyer. And this whole scene, everything the lawyer explains, makes no fucking sense, at least not to me. So they haven't charged her with anything because they're still looking for the body of the baby. Apparently not getting charged for hacking a dog's head off. I feel like there's probably some law against that, unless the 90s were more horrifying than we remember.
I guess they want to get all their charges at once. I don't know.
I don't think that's how charges work.
Not necessarily, no.
Right. You can be charged with stuff. They can change the charges. They can drop charges. Like, they can charge you. They found you in a woman's home with a meat cleaver having cut her dog's head off. There's something to go on there. But apparently they haven't charged her with anything yet because they haven't found a body, at least not a human body, because they definitely found a fucking dog's body in that apartment.
Or at least the head.
At least the head. We don't know where the body went. They didn't have body budget, for sure. And because they're going for murder one, they want to find the body to charge her with. And this all just reeks of bullshit. The writer did not know how law works. The only thing of substance that we really learned from the scene is that Helen blacked out. She doesn't remember anything that happened. Like, she has no recollection of this. Cut to Helen in a bathtub full of milk, I want to say.
Yes, that's what I had to. She had a bath of skim milk.
It was water, but...
it's watery. It's definitely watery. So
but it's colored bone, like white. It's crazy. And again, the scene mostly exists just so we can see more of the actress's boobs.
But you can't show nips, which is why they had to have cloudy water.
But you see some of them. You see parts of them.
Anyway.
We get more overt nips later in the movie.
But so Trevor comes in to tell her he needs to go to the university to pick up some work. Helen confronts him about not picking up the phone. He says he was fast asleep and, he thought she was with Bernadette. And bullshit, my dude. Phones are loud. You don't sleep through those.
I do.
Okay, but you're you. Between the phone ringing and the answering machine, like, you're gonna hear that, especially if it's right next to your bed.
Again, this is the most obvious conclusion can be made here, and the movie just decides obvious is what storytelling's all about.
Well, I mean, the movie straight up showed us when the phone was ringing that there was no one home.
Right.
I mean, it's not a mystery to us.
My note here is, wow, the world before cell phones and texting, you just didn't know where anybody was. And then we get some dramatic sponge acting from Helen. She's got to like sit straight up. Yeah, she's like futzing with, because she's got some sort of internal turmoil and she's acting with the sponge, and then sits up in her milk bath. Cut to her in the kitchen. She's having a moody cigarette break in a bathrobe, and this moody cigarette break in a bathrobe is brought to you by Budweiser. Although I don't think so, because they had to like split the label enough where it didn't actually say Budweiser. It's just they didn't want to cover the label with gaff tape. And so now Helen is looking through the photo slides, which conveniently the people in the photo department put in slides for this scene and not prints and negatives, as you were saying, John. And she stops at a photo of her where she's just taken a photo of herself in a mirror, and she starts, messing with the focus to get it into proper focus.
It's not quite a mirror, because it's only like a partial reflection of her, like maybe a window pane or something. You catch,
or part of it got messed up because the pictures got messed up, so part of the photo was damaged or something.
And so it's the inconsistency of when Candyman shows up in a mirror. So it's not when you say his name 5 times, it's when he conveniently feels like showing up.
Right, because she adjusts the focus of the slide projector and sees Candyman in the reflection. So yeah, what are the rules? And she has no reaction to this. This does not freak her out. Her reaction to this is to stand up, very calmly open the curtains, and take a sip of her tea.
At which point I say it's another bright and sunny day in this horror movie.
Yeah. For reasons, she now feels compelled to get up and go take a look at the bathroom mirror. And I consider this one of the decent jump scares of the film, because you expect him to show up in the mirror, but no, she opens the medicine cabinet and he busts through the back of the medicine cabinet.
Yeah, I mean, my note is that this would have been terrifying if he weren't lit up like a Christmas tree.
He doesn't need the darkness.
He is just terrifying as is.
When you're so brightly lit, you don't show your monster in its entirety so many times and so early in a movie just for this reason. It looks quantifiable. It looks, it's when your imagination creates the monster, that's when you actually get scared. When it's shown to you in such explicit detail.
Well, you go watch Blair Witch. I'm going to enjoy this movie.
There you go. Yeah. I was slightly horrified watching this. I think it did a decent job. It is okay to disagree. So she runs out into the hallway, but he's out in the hallway, so she has to run back inside.
Yeah, this whole sequence, everywhere she goes, there he is.
Well lit and very simple to see.
Well lit.
It's just ugh.
Yes, horrifying. It is
not
terrifying.
in any way, shape, or form.
Tries to call 911 back inside, but he's in there, and tells her the same thing he told her in the parking lot, essentially, that her investigation made people stop believing them, and that without his congregation, he is nothing. And again, my notes are, cool, you don't exist anymore, and the movie's over. So Candyman tells Helen that if he lets him kill her, he'll let the baby go, because he's got the baby. Again, why do you need permission to kill her?
Dracula thing, like they can't cross into your home without permission. It's ghost rules.
Yeah. And also basically says that he'll make her into a legend herself. So this is a terrible time for Bernadette to show up.
Yes, it is.
Because she does, and she's got flowers. Helen is like hears her at the door, and she's trying to scream out to her to run away, but Candyman has hooked Helen's neck, and apparently now she can't scream.
Yep.
Yeah. So Bernadette comes in and gets straight up killed by Candyman. And there's a weird cut to a random part of Cabrini Green when Bernadette is killed. So we don't see her get hooked, but we see a random part of Cabrini Green while hearing the noises of her getting killed. Why? Such a weird editing choice. I mean, I get that you don't have enough budget to kill every single person on camera, but that's a weird thing to cut to. Like, you could cut to a different part of the room. Like, it's weird. And Trevor comes back to find a bloody Helen on the floor in the kitchen with a bloody knife in her hand. So Helen passes out. She wakes up. She's handcuffed.
Why is dead Bernadette so white?
Yeah, do black people turn into white people when you stab them?
She didn't turn into a white person. She turned into a fucking clown. That skin is white, like undershirt white.
Helen is horrified to see dead Bernadette and begs Trevor to hold her, which he does. And on the way to the police station, Helen's now in the back of a cop car. Candyman is talking to Helen in her head, basically tells her that being alive is overrated and getting to exist as a rumor without having to actually exist, is pretty awesome. And he's like, do you understand? Like, no, dude, you're not pitching this not existing thing really well. I'm just going to give you that note.
You never have to poop, Helen.
Sold. So baby crying intercut with flashes of Bernadette's body for spookiness. So we're now in a hospital, and Trevor abandons Helen as she's being wheeled on a gurney, strapped down to the gurney with zip ties, by the way. They strap her down on a table in a locked room, and Candyman floats above her because apparently what he really wants now is a smooch.
Again,
He asks her for an exquisite kiss.
ludicrously well lit.
Mental hospitals aren't dark and dingy like you're used to in your movies, Jules.
And it just makes some people want an exquisite kiss. Like, stop being so judgy. Yeah, we will learn he really loves this word. Exquisite.
Yes.
Yeah.
He does
Candyman
love exquisite.
loves this word. She's freaking out about Candyman being in the room, and the orderlies rush in to give her a sedative. He's like, he's under the bed. He's going to kill it. And he's not in there. One of the orderlies gives her an injection in her shoulder. And is it just me, or did it look like the orderly was just like wiped the needle across her shoulder?
You could see it bend.
Yeah, it bends. It bends.
They had no fake syringe budget, is what we learn in this scene. So more baby making baby noises in an abandoned room in Cabrini Green. My note here is, how did nobody hear this baby screaming?
There's more than one baby in Cabrini Green?
Right, but it's coming from such an odd area of the building, and Anne-Marie heard Helen and Bernadette in that abandoned apartment pretty easily.
Because bees?
Well, my note is because bees. Bees are the fountain of youth. Because as we're about to learn, we're about to jump in time a month, and this baby has just been crying back in the Candyman murder room this whole time. And Candyman walks up, kind of like waves his hook over it, and then just like puts his finger in its mouth to suckle. Like, has this kid just been living off of honey and not aging?
No, what you see in this scene is Candyman feeding him blood from his bloody stump.
Oh, it's the blood. Okay.
Yeah, so he's feeding this child blood, and that he's going to keep him alive on blood for a month, apparently.
And not age.
And not age.
Ghost blood.
So, yeah, I mean, we learned that this is going to be a month later, but Helen wakes up strapped down to the bed. She's in a hospital gown now, so kind of hints that she's been there a while. And man, this orderly is a dick that comes in.
Yes, he is such a dickhead.
She's like, yeah, I want to see my husband. He's like, yeah, me too. Implying that he wants to see her husband too.
That is a nice nod to one, more time has passed than we think, and the husband has not visited.
Right.
But then immediately after, they're wheeling her through the hallway and they're yelling for a guard to open the door, and he just talks shit to the guards. He's just a dickhead.
Like she asks where they're going because they transfer her over to a wheelchair and they strap her down to the wheelchair, or strap her arms at least. She's like, where are we going? And he's like, we're going to Disneyland. Why, dude?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Such an asshole. Oh, and that hallway scene where he tells the guys he's a dick to the guards who guard that particular segment of the hallway. No point of that scene other than to reinforce the fact that the orderly is a dick.
Yeah.
There's a lot of padding in this movie.
Yeah, he accuses them of reading.
And we're going to get to one of those awesome padding moments. I mean, right up to the point where we reach the door of Dr. Burke. At which
Dr.
point,
Burke.
the orderly says, Dr. Burke, and opens the door, and Dr. Burke stands up and says, hi, I'm Dr. Burke.
And introduces himself.
We
Yes, he
get
does.
it! You're a Burke. Can we please move on?
A Dr. Burke, no less.
And Dr. Burke had to have been a reference model for the PS4 Spider-Man game for Dr. Octopus.
Easily. Easily.
He is absolutely the reference model for that character. You've got to side by side this shit.
But on top of that, so we learn from him that she has been committed, has been drugged up on Thorazine this whole month. And that's like a powerful antipsychotic. They've just been like keeping her drugged up. So this doctor is apparently on her defense team for court because she's been charged with murder 1.
She asks for her lawyer, and he's like, well, I'm on your defense team. It's like, no, you keep asking for your lawyer. You don't know this guy.
Yeah. You don't know if he's lying to you.
We know he's Dr. Burke, and he has 4 TVs.
He does have 4 TVs, like that weird
So-
cube of TVs.
Since he's already a doctor, he's perfected the superpower of gaining trust through, hi, I'm so-and-so.
God handing out.
Well, he didn't even have to hand a card. That's the thing. His name's on the door.
His name's on the door, yeah.
Example of
Yeah.
It's like
schmackness.
getting pre-carded.
Helen's trying to get her PhD, so she has to hand out cards when she introduces herself.
Ah.
She doesn't have the full power yet of forcing people to believe in you.
So basically, he's there to determine her eligibility to stand trial. Basically, can we claim whether or not you have insanity as a defense here? And he shows her on these 4 TV monitors. I don't know why he needs 4. But we see footage of the scene where Candyman was hovering above her asking for a smooch, and we see that scene play out again, but there's nobody there.
And you know how we know that no one's there? Because it's a damn well lit cell, Julian.
It's so awful.
There's no
It's
ambiguity.
still broad
He's
daylight.
clearly not
and
there.
The spooky ghost is still well lit and quantifiable and easy to dismiss.
No, it's not. He's not there. It's not quantifiable. This footage shows that.
On 4 TVs.
It's not if you peer and squint, you can see him. No.
The fact that they got a discount on TV monitors at the prop store does not forgive the fact that this entire movie is far too well lit.
Just professionals doing their jobs,
No,
Jules.
they're
Jeez.
doing it wrong. That's not
Yeah,
how you horror
seriously.
movie.
So this freaks her out because she might just be crazy, and she's insists that there is no part of her that is capable of murder. And here's the thing, Helen, you've probably got a really good case for insanity here. Maybe you don't fuck up with like the way this is all playing out. And so instead of, just maybe having to spend some time in the hospital, go with the insanity defense, she's like, no, I will prove to you that Candyman exists. I'm going to summon him.
This is another one of those few things that I very clearly remembered from seeing as a kid. This moment got burned in my brain.
So she turns to a mirror that's on the wall to the left of her, and she says Candyman 5 times into the mirror. And there's a moment where nothing happens, and it's like, oh, fuck, she's probably just crazy. And then Dr. Burke gets split in half with a fucking hook.
Yep. And then Candyman announces how she belongs to him now and dramatically and forcefully flies out the window in a cannonball form.
I had the note, he exited from the window like he was being pulled by the demon from Jeepers Creepers.
Yep, pretty much.
Or being pulled by the cables that you could clearly see in the frame.
I was going to say, yeah, before he gets tugged out the window, he does at least undo her restraints.
Yeah, that was very nice of him.
Yeah.
So Helen gets up and makes an escape through the window.
And just to clarify things, all the orderlies start knocking on the door and saying, Dr. Burke? Dr. Burke? Dr. Burke?
I personally had
Right.
forgotten his name at this point, so I was really glad that they reminded me.
Well, and just like the hepatitis earlier when going through the medicine cabinet, it's a damn good thing that Candyman didn't leave any extra glass poking out of the frame for this barefoot woman to be walking through the window.
Right. And so she, I guess, scooches down far enough where she's at a different room. And this nurse, I guess, she's got a blue uniform on, is very kind enough to help Helen through the window. But Helen just knocks her down against the ground, knocks her out, and strips her and takes her shit.
She's the easiest person in the world to knock out. So much so that the sound effects didn't even want to show up. It was just like a gentle, relaxing fall to the floor.
Strips her down, takes her uniform, takes her key. She has a little tense moment as the cops run past down the hall. There's an alarm going off at this point. And so she runs home to Trevor.
Our friendly character ADR pops up again. Please be home, Trevor. Please be home.
Oh, yeah.
Please be home, Trevor.
And I actually have a question here. If she clearly knows the Candyman is after her, and she truly does care about her husband, why would she go back to him when she's clearly luring Candyman to her husband?
She'll say it pretty soon.
Yeah. I mean, she's scared. She doesn't want to be alone. It's a natural human instinct. I kind of get it. But she comes home, and to nobody's fucking surprise, the girl we knew that Trevor was fucking the entire time is in the apartment.
Absolutely no payoff, because it's exactly what we expected, and it's exactly what happened.
Yep.
I had a brief moment of tension in which she was running home and she's out in the hallway and the door's already open. Like I said, it's brief.
It's very brief. And she comes in and the furniture's covered and the girl's name's Sandy. That's the student that Trevor is having absolutely inappropriate relations with.
And as John mentioned, she's painting the walls with Pepto-Bismol.
She is painting the walls with Pepto-Bismol. This is a disgusting
Pepto-Bismol
color.
Pink. Oh, my
The
God.
worst shade of pink. Helen scares the shit out of Sandy. The girl who plays Sandy is not a good actress.
No.
Okay, she's supposed to be terrified this whole scene, and it looks like she's just trying to not laugh.
Yes, exactly. Yes. She is trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
You know, it's that thing like, are they laughing or crying sort of thing?
Right.
Xander Berkeley cracked a joke and she could not get it out of her head. And it was just a desperate attempt not to look at camera.
She looks like she has the biggest smile on her face and is thinking, don't do it, don't crack up, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh, oh my God, don't laugh.
I mean, I put also that, she didn't know what to do with her hands and the director kept yelling two conflicting instructions at her.
And also, she's painting with an open shirt and like letting her bra hang out. So there's also that.
Because that's what Sugar Daddy Trevor instructed her to do. Because he comes walking out, I swear to God, he's wearing two robes.
Yeah.
He's got the white hotel bathrobe underneath real tight, and then his regular robe
The
over
wardrobe
it.
in this shit, I swear.
He's trying to pull off a smoking jacket look, so he put two robes on.
But as I was gonna say was that this girl that her husband is seeing, she does not know how to bra, because as we'll find out later, she doesn't
She
know
doesn't know
how to
how
bra.
to anything.
Yeah. So basically, Trevor's kind of like, let's just call the hospital. And basically, what we learn from this scene is that Trevor never expected Helen to leave the hospital. And that's why he's got the student over. That's why they're redecorating. That's why he never came to visit her. He's just,
And she reveals that her life was defined by her husband and that she has nothing left now.
Well, she has nothing left now. It's not that her husband defined her life, but let's see. Her good friend's murdered. She's been in an insane asylum for a month. So, yeah, that doctoral thesis isn't looking very good.
not likely
She
at
really
this point.
has lost everything at this point. She's a fugitive, so any scrap to her old life, this was it. It's not my husband defines
that's true,
me.
I guess, but it felt like the emphasis was on the husband. That's what bugged me about it.
But it is the answer to your question earlier of if Candyman's chasing her, why is she going back to Trevor? Well, that's all she has left. That was the answer.
Yeah, that was the answer. What I do love in the scene is the little power move she does with Sandy.
That was fun.
yeah.
This was
just
awesome.
Call him.
Because I think Sandy was kind of like hesitant whether or not to call the hospital. And Helen just picks it up and like holds the receiver out. Is like, do you want to call the hospital? And this just causes Sandy to break down into even more hysterical tears.
That joke was just
Slash
could
laughter.
not get out of her head. It was stuck there.
So Helen now realizes she has nobody, and Candyman talks to Helen while she's on a bridge out of the ether.
Yeah, was she supposed to be contemplating suicide at this point? Or
Unclear.
What I wanted to bring up is
Okay.
why does Candyman threaten that everyone will abandon her after everyone's already abandoned her?
Maybe she's replaying stuff that we didn't hear the
Ah,
first
yes.
time. It's that gentle mist rising off of the river that's reminding her of Candyman for some reason.
Yeah, the wind that's misting up the surface of the river in Chicago. And so, yeah, Candyman is telling her that she has nothing left but his desire for her. And so Helen returns to Cabrini Green and goes in...
Cabrini!
Fuck.
I'm loving that it's
You've been doing it
Calibri.
this whole time!
Returns to Times New Roman.
It's a fucking font. Yes.
Returns to Wingdings. Comic Sans.
Meanwhile, in Helvetica.
Where the Parthenon is.
Ah! They say in Helvetica where the Parthenon is. They say in Helvetica where the Parthenon is.
Okay, so wait, what is it?
Comic Sans, yes.
So back at Comic Sans Green goes into the apartment from earlier, the abandoned one where the lady was murdered.
My note here is finally nighttime.
Finally nighttime and convenient spooky candles. Somebody was nice enough to do some mood lighting. Also convenient bailing hook on a chain for her. It was nice that Candyman gave her a hook, give her a
Yeah,
fair
my note
fight.
was finally nighttime, and then she crawls through the hole, and suddenly the sun is back for no reason.
Yeah.
It's not that it was night, there was just no windows there.
And so she's in another, again, what the fuck is this building? She's in another abandoned part of the building. And on the wall, there's a mural of Candyman being chased
Yep.
back in the 1800s.
Mural of his backstory that Ben Franklin told us about,
Yep.
his arm getting cut off.
Candyman himself is taking a nice altar nap.
Yeah, what?
Yes, he is.
First of all, what is this room? It's like this giant hall, like abandoned hallway. It's still like trashed and looks very run down, but what is this room? He's sleeping on a table. Candyman has to sleep?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's like Odin. He has to recharge his powers.
Yeah, he's recharging his bee powers, and
Mhm.
she tries to sneak up on him and gives him a good whack with her hook, but it doesn't do anything.
Well, of course not. That which is dead may never die.
Apparently, but it does wake him up, though. Worst alarm clock ever.
No. What happens is what the alarm clock does to you.
Yeah.
No, this would be his way of hitting snooze.
Yeah.
Sorry, the alarm clock was getting hit by the hook. It's the manner in which he hits snooze that is just absolutely terrifying.
Well, because he picks her up and carries her to another table altar on the other side of the room.
Classic two altar setup. That's where you get the
Yeah.
good feng shui.
Yeah, it really helps the energy flow. Yeah.
It's there on the other side to be dramatic. And, talking about how the pain will be exquisite and they'll be immortal and the tale, like all this flowery language. Basically, she's like scared of dying because of the pain and like what comes afterwards. He's like, the pain will be exquisite and you'll essentially be immortal in the terrified whisperings of people. Puts her down on the altar and then gets very fresh with that hook.
Yeah. It doesn't go on for too long, thankfully, but he starts getting a little fresh with that hook.
Putting that hook close to the groin area, don't put hooks there, suggestively.
Just barely starting to raise the dress.
Right.
Just a bit.
Can we get to the bee kiss?
I'll say, but then the bees happen.
Right.
So,
He's like, we shall
yeah.
die in front of their very eyes. Wait, are you dying again, Candyman? Like, what is that line? In front of whose? Like, nothing he says makes sense.
Basically, nothing makes sense with his motivation or plan for the rest of this movie.
Yeah, like, how does this ritual work? What does it achieve? Yeah, it's very
Makes
confusing.
no sense.
But we are now at the bees.
Finally.
All of a sudden, she is covered with bees, he's covered with bees, and he has got bees coming out of his mouth.
Oh, God.
And John, that reaction is justified because these are fucking real.
Yes.
These are
Yes, they
real
are.
bees. Tony Todd had real bees all over them. I forget the actress's name who plays Helen, but she's got bees all over her. And he had real bees in his mouth. They put some sort of liner in there to reduce the amount of like stings he might get, but he had real bees in it. And that is commitment, my friends.
Absolutely.
I was like, I would not be able to do that. I would not be able to do that. Oh my God.
No.
I could be cool with them crawling on me because, you're calm, you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. But in the mouth, crawling in and out, oh,
Hell no.
It's not like 2 or 3 bees are crawling in and out of his mouth. It is
That's
full.
absolutely
He has
full.
literally
bees.
a mouthful of bees.
Yeah. Crazy. This is pre-CGI. If you want to have bees in your movie, you got to make them real. Things that you wouldn't do today.
Yeah, I have a note saying, fuck you, Candyman. I'll be fine to just stay mortal, thank you.
Yep.
This is what it takes.
But you know what Tony Todd did? He got it in his contract that he got $1,000 bonus for every bee sting. And he got stung 26 times in the making of the movie. So he got a bonus of $26,000.
I'd seen something about it being 26 over the course of a trilogy. But anyway.
All I know is that Tony Todd has made at least $26,000 getting stung by a bee.
That's not enough.
Probably not enough, no. Especially if they're crawling in your mouth, some of those stings, holy fuck.
I think I could be okay with, hey, you get stung by a bee, we'll give you $1,000. Because as far as I know, I'm not allergic. It'll hurt, it'll suck, but okay. I'm not sticking around for 26.
No, absolutely not.
Not doing it.
I think they kiss.
Bee kiss.
Yeah.
Bee
That's
kiss.
how you
which,
transfer the immortality with the bee kiss.
I forget. I think there's a flash because Candyman is no longer in the room. He picks up the baby and says, "It's time for a new miracle." So he lied to her about letting the baby go.
Yeah.
She even brings that up.
She brings it up, but we learn this now as the audience. And so Helen wakes up and is immediately like natural reaction, like hitting her face like, "Oh fuck, are the bees still on me?" They are not, but very natural reaction to believing that bees were covering you just now. And there's kind of a did that even happen moment because Candyman's not there, there's no bees. And so she grabs the hook that she brought earlier and she goes back to the place where the mural was, and there's written in big letters, "It was always you, Helen." And we notice that there's a woman in the mural of when Candyman got killed, like from those years, who looks strikingly like Helen.
And yet not really.
Not really. Not a great portrait of her. The portrait of Tony Todd is great. This doesn't look like her.
That definitely looks like him. This is white lady.
Yeah.
Hair's kind of the same style. So I don't know if this is supposed to be a reincarnation thing. Maybe she's a descendant, or she just kind of looked like the gal in the picture and he got hot for her.
Yeah. Motivation's unclear about why he focused on her or like what her connection to him is other than she was making people not believe in him as much. So I guess she's like leaving that. She's kind of going down the hall and she hears baby crying from the giant pile of crap that's going to be used for the bonfire.
Yeah.
Like that is some Superman levels of hearing.
It was the bee kiss.
And no one else.
And no one else. That is the other thing. Nobody else hears the baby.
Within the building, it's kind of like, oh, there's a baby screaming. And it's like, there's a baby outside in the middle of the night.
No, during the day.
Which is soon to be night.
Which is going to turn into night like that.
Jules is so incredibly unamused at this point.
I honestly, I was completely, I didn't understand much of what was going on towards this ending. It was very unimpressive.
Yeah, the movie got a little up its own butt at some point. Well, around now. So Helen goes into the giant pile of crap and Jake catches a glimpse of the hook. So she like goes in her whole body and the last thing that she pulls down into the pile of crap is the hook. And that's what Jake sees. And so Jake's just like, Candyman.
Yeah, he didn't hear the baby, but he heard her rattling around, climbing through, and then got there in time to see the hook go in.
Right. And again, this kid completely unfazed. He believes he saw Candyman, and he's just like, cool, I saw that.
Yeah, but it's not just cool, I saw Candyman, it is time. He gets his friends.
He gets his friends.
They get some gasoline.
They get a torch, and there's like this weird, like the music has changed now. The music mode is like this angelic choir thing.
The choir's been singing the whole movie.
Right, but it's more positive and uplifting versus earlier where it was creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, I found that really strange. That this was like the happiest sounding music of the movie when the guys come out to throw gasoline and actually burn Candyman away. Maybe the composer was not given the note that there's a woman and a baby in there too. And it was just, oh, the bad guy's gonna get burned. Let's have this uplifting moment.
Or maybe the Philip Glass likes it when babies and women get burned. Who knows? Maybe he finds that uplifting.
So that's where Helen got her personality from, looking at murder photos and getting happier.
Helen, inspired by Philip Glass. So not only do Jake and the boys douse the pile of crap with gasoline while Helen's like getting to the baby, they go and they call the entire building down.
Hell yeah.
They're like, we got Candyman. He's in there. He's getting everyone come. And just dozens upon dozens of people, just hundreds eventually, just stream out of this building. And they set the pile of crap on fire. And so Helen has made it to the baby and she's trying to escape the blaze, but Candyman won't let her go.
Yeah, at the first parts, won't let her scream to call out.
Right.
Once she's finally able to scream, the people are all cheering and chanting so loud that they wouldn't be able to hear her anyway.
Exactly. And he says, we'll never be separated again. And this kind of just brings up what you were mentioning earlier. Like, was she there in a past life? Like, what is her connection to him?
Yeah, and what his goal is. And, I just don't understand it. And why would this fire kill him, in any way, shape, or form either?
And nobody knows they're in there. So how is this going to perpetuate his legend?
Yeah, I had no idea what he was doing.
So she grabs a flaming piece of wood and stabs Candyman in the bees.
Indeed. So once again, he was wrong about being together forever.
Mm-hmm.
Got it?
Because he's got bees in his chest cavity. That's why we say he gets stabbed in the bees. And so she starts crawling through the flame trying to get out. And a flaming beam falls on her back, trapping her momentarily. Candyman's like trying to go through the burning wreckage to catch up with them, but she manages to escape.
Yeah, fantastic stunt work here.
Yes, amazing.
That's true.
This is where a
Yeah.
lot of the budget went. Oh, do you know why the stunt work was really good, though? Because they got the guys who did Backdraft.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Helen escapes the blaze. She brings the baby out, but her hair is on fire. Anne-Marie is there, takes her baby, doesn't do anything about Helen on fire.
Yeah, some other people run up with like blankets, coats, whatever, trying to put it out.
Right.
Remember, this is Jake's fault.
This is Jake's fault.
The one guy.
So Helen dies, but also Candyman dies. So Jake is looking really intensely into the fire and sees a flaming corpse who is presumably Candyman. What?
I didn't understand the Candyman dying thing.
Symbology. Because then they made two more, so,
Yeah, his motivation, his plans, like what any of this was supposed to achieve, how Candyman works, it's very muddled. So Helen is dead. We're at her funeral now, and Trevor's keeping it classy by bringing the student he's been fucking and left her for.
This is the weirdest damn funeral I've ever seen.
Because not only is he bringing this student with whom he's having inappropriate relations, who he cheated on Helen with, brings her to her funeral, and after they lower the body into...
But this funeral, it's Trevor and her and Ben Franklin and like one other person.
Who I don't think we've seen before.
I think he was at dinner with them also, but he didn't really do anything. But yeah, this lady has 4 people at her funeral, which is just sad.
Yeah, like, is she an orphan or...
But then as we were just getting to, right as it lowers up, the entirety of Cabrini Green shows up.
Right!
Right at the very end. They walk up, Drake drops the bailing hook in the grave, and they just walk on. There's just this parade
Without saying a word.
of Cabrini Green residents that goes past this funeral. What the fuck kind of service was this?
Either they thought she was Candyman, and then they wouldn't have shown up, except to maybe spit on her grave, or they thought that she had helped destroy Candyman, and they thought a poetic thing would be to drop Candyman's hook in her grave.
But to not be there for any other part of the service?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they clearly knew it was going to happen. That's why they all showed up.
Right.
But not on time and also en masse as one unit of humanity. What? It's like 100 people walking in a line through this graveyard to get...
Oh, it's definitely more than 100.
Bare minimum 100 people. Crazy. So yeah, they drop in the Candyman hook into her grave. And like I said, nobody says a damn word. It's creepy. It's crazy. Now we're with Trevor in his bathroom. He's having some sad time on the toilet. And Sandy is just like, hey, I'll make us a nice dinner. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. He's like not interested.
This is where we get the nips through the sweater. I mean,
yeah, she just has her no bra on, nips through the sweater while she huffily makes dinner.
Yeah, she is such a bit. I mean, look, Trevor wasn't a great guy. That's needs to be said. But his wife did just die.
Right.
I mean, they just buried her.
Right. And even though he left her, like he clearly had some affection for her.
He wasn't a great guy, but yeah, and it's starting to hit on him. It's, he's starting to feel some guilt, and she is just huffily trying to make dinner. I don't think she's ever actually made dinner before.
No, because she's like, would you want to help me make the salad?
And he's like, I'm just not up for it. And she's like, find it. Dead people.
She takes a steak out of the fridge. The steak is on a polystyrene plate, puts it on a cutting board, and is just like chopping slices of this flank steak.
She's like, well, no one likes the corners.
And just chucking the pieces of meat into what?
I don't know what. It's not the sink. It's not the trash. It's just like, I don't like the way that piece looks.
Vaguely in that direction.
Yeah, because the stove is behind her. What is she chucking these pieces into?
Because she's so upset that he's thinking about another woman, which is just perfect justice when you think about it.
Yeah, and Julian, you mentioned earlier, like he's flashing back to Helen making him dinner.
Happily making him dinner.
As opposed to this, 19-year-old huffily making him dinner. And at some point in the scene, she's tapping the sharp end of the knife in her hand on her other hand.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You're going to cut yourself.
Yeah, she does have that little like, oh, ow moment. So she learned knives are sharp.
Well, listen, this girl doesn't know how to bra. She's not going to know how to knife either.
Doesn't know how to knife, doesn't know how to steak. She doesn't know how to do much of anything.
Doesn't know how to select a proper color scheme.
Nope. And so in his grief, Trevor starts saying Helen into the mirror.
Yeah, my note here is that horror movie finally figures out how to horror.
See, for me, this was so laughably cheap.
It was, because he starts off saying Helen, in a grieving sort of way, and then halfway through getting to 5, his expression turns.
It's like he knows what he's doing.
It's like he knows what he's doing. So he's like, Helen, and he says it 4 times, and then again turns off the light to say it the 5th time, and Helen shows up.
In a lightning storm.
To strobe lighting, yeah.
Well, it starts with like a rumble of thunder as well, and then as it goes on, it's just strobe lighting. Yeah.
Do you think it's because of all of that camera flashing she did back at Helvetica Falls?
Ooh. I like that.
So that's her signature now from all the photos she's taken throughout the movie. I didn't pick up on that. Nice. Very nice.
I do like that fan theory. So apparently when you want to summon somebody from beyond the grave, you have to turn the light off. That's why Candyman didn't show up when she and Bernadette were trying to do it earlier.
Except he showed up in Dr. Burke's office when no one turned lights off.
Sorry, what was that character's name again?
Otto Octavius.
That's Dr. Octopus for people who don't get that. So she shows up. Her head has the hair all burnt off.
It's supposed to be burn scars, but I recognize this for what it is, having done effects.
What is it?
Oh my God. It's cotton balls.
Get the fuck out.
Oh, brilliant.
No, seriously. It's a bald cap, and then you basically pull cotton balls apart. You put down a layer of latex, mash them into it, and then cover them with latex, and you get that squiggly whatever effect.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's one of the easiest things to do. It takes a little bit of time. You have to build it up as you go and do layers sometimes. But yeah, it's latex and cotton balls, and then just some paint or makeup over the top. But since it's supposed to be scars, they just use like natural flesh color. That's not like nasty burns or anything like that in this situation.
Right, because she's supposed to have like this white look to her. Her skin is very pale in the light they use. She's wearing a white gown.
Not as white as Bernadette ended up in her death.
Nobody on this podcast is that white. But she has the hook in her hand, the one that was
Mhm.
jammed in Candyman's stump, but she has to hold it in order to wield it, and it is huge in her hand. She has tiny hands, and she kills Trevor, but of course, because there hasn't been enough random sexualization of everything, she's clearly getting off in a sexual
Mhm.
way as she guts Trevor.
When we were talking about Girlfriend not being a good actress, this is why she got cast.
Yeah.
Coming up, this is the reason.
Yes, she goes into the bathroom, like having heard disturbance in there, sees Trevor dead, just blood everywhere, gutted, and she screams.
And damn, can she scream.
She can fucking
This
scream.
had to have
That
been
was
the audition.
100%. Yeah.
The audition was doing a horror scream.
It is
that
the
had to have been it
perfect
for this
horror scream.
character. Because she can't do anything else.
No.
We know that. She can't cook. She can't be mad. She can't be scared. But she can fucking scream.
Yes, she can. And so now back at Helvetica Green, I'm not even going to say because I'm going to Kalima
Times
Green.
New Roman, yes.
We see a new mural. Again, where the fuck in this building is this mural? Where the fuck are people crawling through to find these abandoned portions of this housing project? And it's got Helen as an angelic figure rising from a column of fire.
The end.
The end. That's it.
That's the worst campfire story ever.
Roll credits to angelic music. That is it. Okay, so that was Candyman. And before we go, as millennials, we know that every single movie and TV show has a moral. So, Jules, what did you learn today?
Oh, I learned that I should always be jealous of my spouse.
You should. You should get a spouse first, but then once you have one, you should definitely just be jealous of them. And John, what did you learn?
I learned how to dress like cops.
And I learned that the best way to achieve immortality is by murdering people. And before we go, we of course need to tell you at home what we're doing next time. John, what do the listeners have to look forward to?
They have to look forward. Because what else is there to do? You have to look forward to She's All That.
Oh boy. Yeah, they've got the gender swapped remake coming out, so we're gonna be doing this classic late 90s coming of age teen film. And John, do you have any reviews to get the folks at home titillated?
I do. This is another movie that was very widespread in the ratings. There were some that absolutely tore it apart, quite a few that absolutely loved it. So I'm going to give you a bit of both and let you make up your own mind. Shoddily constructed out of bits and pieces of previous genre triumphs, She's All That is as dull and droning as the fluorescent lighting in your old study hall. And once, just once, I'd love to see a teen flick that doesn't send out a message to young girls that to be acceptable, you have to conform.
Amen.
One sec. To contrast, a teen comedy that actually puts priority on intelligence and values and spans generations in its appeal, emerging as a special delight for anyone for whom high school was something less than nirvana. In short, the film isn't afraid to wear its heart on its sleeve and bring conviction to its focus on feelings. It's written with enough dexterity and wit to make you buy into it.
That is not the movie I remember, but we're going to have to rewatch to find out.
I just love this. One review says it's written with dexterity and wit and you buy into it. And then there's another that's like, this is every fucking cliche you've ever seen.
Well, we're going to have our own opinions next time. And that's our show. If you liked it, please subscribe. If you loved it, please share it with all your friends. And whether you liked it or loved it, we'd appreciate it if you gave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts to help others find us. Also, be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Links to both of those are in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time for another episode of Millennial Rewind.